1-2 from Weaver to Buxton. He struck him out, and the ball game is over. And for the first time in more than 2 weeks, the Mets can shake hands. That insidious 12-game losing streak has finally come to an end. Mets win it 3-2.
Mets have been waiting 2 weeks for that last out right there. Outstanding pitching from Weaver.
Alongside Alex and T1 on BK, audio courtesy of SNY up in New York. And if you're wondering, why are you guys starting with the Mets win to open up your show in St. Louis? There's that. It is a Cardinals off day, and also the Mets have a better chance to make it to the playoffs than your St. Louis Cardinals, according to the FanGraphs playoff odds.
Sorry, is anybody surprised by that?
T-Bone is.
Well, okay. So T-Bone's buying into the team that could make the playoffs.
No, I'm just buying the Mets suck.
According to FanGraphs odds today, the Mets have a 43% chance to make it to the postseason. The Phillies have a 36% chance to make it to the postseason. The Phillies, yes, the team that now holds the longest losing streak in Major League Baseball.
As we all
meanwhile, your St. Louis Cardinals, 12% odds to make it to the postseason this year. With Alex and T-Bone, I'm BK. Check us out on YouTube at youtube.com/101ESPN STL. That is where you'll see Alex freeze today.
Yeah, you'll see the
While
nips
we are
there.
in a 35-degree studio. That is why Martin was wearing a skull cap.
Now it makes sense.
There's gloves in the prod studio. I might go put gloves and a hat on.
I'm running my car to get my jacket at break, I think.
We also had AMC for the 4th consecutive day in the studio.
Forrest Gump.
I don't know who's watching that. I think somebody, one of you listeners, please ask TMA tomorrow. Who's watching AMC in the morning?
We need a live studio cam 24 hours so that we can see who is deciding to turn on AMC.
I've got my money on Doug. I can't imagine. Maybe
Doug or Jackson.
I was going to say Jackson would be my value play here. He's like 4-1 odds. I think Doug is minus 350.
I do see Doug looking this way a lot on the YouTube stream, which for people that don't understand, I'm looking right at the TV.
T-Bone also has forgotten to put up our YouTube stream once again.
That's okay. We can watch the Last Minute Blues podcast because apparently there was a great episode that dropped yesterday.
So, all right, back to the Cardinals. Their playoff odds. They are 14-10.
Why is this guy always complaining?
The Mets and the Phillies are both 8-16. They're 6 games back of the Cardinals right now. Alex, I feel like you. I don't think this is crazy. I think it makes sense that the Mets and the Phillies, who both have better rosters than the Cardinals, would be 24 games into the regular season more likely to make it to the postseason than the Cardinals. Because if I just ask you this simple question, do you think that the Mets and or the Phillies will be 6 games better than the Cardinals for the next 140 games? I think the answer to that is yes. I just don't think what we've seen is sustainable. Now, that doesn't mean that the Cardinals suck and that they're going to end up winning 65 games as many had predicted prior to the season. I don't think they're that bad, but I also don't think they're a legit playoff team just yet. I think they've still got a few steps to get through before they get to that place. T-Bone, you disagree with me and Alex on this stance, so where are you coming from on this, out of curiosity?
I was surprised of the gap that was between them in the playoff odds. Not that the Mets and the Phillies had a higher percentage chance to get to the playoffs than the Cardinals, but just that massive gap that you made reference to there. And the reason that I was surprised is the fact that the Mets lost 12 games in a row prior to that win last night. And based on research, it tells us a team that's lost 12 games in a row has never made the playoffs. You look at the Philadelphia Phillies and the slow start that they are off to. Yes, you can recover from that, but the odds tell us that it is very hard for teams to recover from the kind of start that both Philly and the Mets have gotten off to. That's the reason I'm surprised by how high their playoff odds still are, because history would tell us that they are probably not playoff teams this year. Now, that doesn't mean I'm saying the Cardinals make the playoffs. I'm just surprised that they're not closer to the range that the Cardinals were in their playoff odds because of the slow starts that they're off to.
If not them, then who?
I think you're looking
the problem in
at.
National.
I think you're seeing that the East is going to probably the Braves, so that avenue is gone. We agree that the Dodgers are winning the West.
No.
And now it becomes a conversation of, okay, can they catch the Padres, who are probably looking like a playoff team right now?
That's fine.
And then I would throw into the NL Central, when we're looking at this, still the Brewers and the Cubs.
But there's only one of those teams that's going to make it as the wild card.
And I would still throw the Reds into that,
Somebody
too.
has to win this division. Yeah. And then you've got multiple wild card spots that are still up for grabs.
What I would say is I think the NL Central is better than expected. And what that means is that I think there's a chance you're seeing 2 teams come from the NL Central for the playoffs this year. And that's where it becomes hard for me to see the path. It makes it hard for me to see the greater percentage chance that the Mets and the Phillies have to get these playoff spots.
Same thing. Like, they say, hey, the Cubs have a 70% chance to make it to the playoffs. Pirates 60%. Brewers 42%. Those are all better or similar to what the Mets have right now. And they're all better than what the Phillies have right now. And I think that feels about right. The team that is the outlier in this regard is the Cardinals. Like, the conversation really here is about, do you think that the Cardinals should have much better playoff odds as of today? And what they're saying is 1 out of 8 times that you get through the regular season, the Cardinals make it to the playoffs. That seems about right to me. Mm-hmm. I don't think that they're, like, hating on the Cardinals for this. Are you saying that the Cardinals should be higher or that the Mets and the Phillies should be lower?
I think the Mets and Phillies should be lower.
And who would you give those odds to?
I would increase the odds even higher for a team like the Cubs, a team like the Brewers. Hell, the Pirates, I would increase the odds for. Like anybody in the NL Central, I think their odds should be boosted more than what we've seen so far from the Phillies and Mets. Again, history is on the side that I don't care what the simulation says. History says that the Mets are not a playoff team this year. They've lost 12 games in a row. They're dealing with a ton of injuries. They just got Soto back, but guess what? Lindor left that game with a calf injury last night. Their pitching is awful. They don't have a good rotation. Like, history tells us that they are not a playoff team. You know, I look at the Phillies, and they're the one that
rotation than a lot of teams in the National League.
I don't agree that
I look at the Phillies, and I go, okay, they're one that I could see if the odds were a little bit higher on them because they've avoided the significant losing streak of 12 games, but they're in the midst of one right now. So the odds are telling me, like, they're probably not a playoff team. And you look at their rotation's not pitching that well. And Wheeler's coming back. Wheeler's velo's down 6 miles an hour, and he's coming off of, I don't know, the thing where they remove a rib from your body.
Yeah, I've said this all along. Like, they're a team that I was going to be very skeptical of coming into the season because of those injury issues. The Mets, to me, like, I know no team has ever done this before, coming back from 12 losses in a row. I also don't know how many teams, I would have to look into this, how many teams the caliber of the Mets have lost 12 games in a row. Like, I think that the Mets are a really good baseball team. I know that it hasn't shown up just yet, but you look at the roster, man, and T-Bone, this is another thing. Like, you just didn't believe in the roster coming into the season. You didn't like what they did in the offseason. You didn't believe in the way that they were constructing this thing. I did. So that's part of where we have our fork in the road moment. I thought coming in, they had built a pretty good roster. It has not come together just yet. The offense has been abysmal, but I think they have really good pitching. And I think they have a pretty good defense. And when you get through the regular season, I think that stuff is going to start playing up whenever you see some of these hitters get to their stride. Like, I don't think all season long, Bo Bichette's going to be a 545 OPS guy. I don't think that's likely. If Francisco Lindor is healthy, I think he's going to be a better than 700 OPS by the end of the season. If you're able to get Juan Soto back, I think the guy's going to be awesome. And he's going to have more than, 9 games played in the first 24. I think that's playing a significant factor in their struggles early this season. So I still think they're a playoff team. I look at the National League right now, and I don't see a whole lot of great teams. But this gets us back to a Cardinals conversation. And I think some of what we're seeing here, the skepticism of the Cardinals in St. Louis, is who they've played. You look at their strength of schedule so far this year, they're in the bottom 10 in Major League Baseball. They just haven't played very many quality opponents. I mean, we saw it with the Marlins. I know the Cardinals lost 2 of 3 to that team. Part of that is because of the getaway day lineup. I don't think the Marlins were very good. You hit the Houston Astros at the exact right time when all of their pitching seems to be on the injured list right now. The Nationals are no good. The Mets were no good when you played them, still have been no good so far this season. How much can we actually learn about the Cardinals when they've gone up against these poor opponents so far this year, Alex?
You know what's funny about this? I think you got mad at us earlier this season when we said, like, they haven't beaten anybody when they were winning baseball games. Because wasn't it the Mets that you were like, well, the Mets are better? And we were like, they're not very good.
Yeah, I was wrong.
It's nice to hear you say it.
They're the only. It's the Cardinals and
I'm happy to admit when I'm wrong.
It's Cardinals and
Doesn't
Brewers
happen often enough.
that are the only 2 teams that have not played a team above 500 yet. At least if I'm looking at this right on MLB.com.
I think they have.
They have, but it's the way they
Tigers
judge
are
that
13 and 12.
The way they judge that on MLB.com is when they play them. So when they played Cleveland, for example,
they were below 500. So they got there because of the Cardinals series or whatnot.
Cleveland's 14 and 12. Detroit's 13 and 12. So it's not teams that are like well above 500, but they've played teams above 500.
I do think it matters in terms of who they're playing against. Now, look, they get the job done against those teams, which is good. That means you're not as bad as you thought you were going to be this season, because this season, going the way it was, I thought they were going to be losing these series against the Rays and the Guardians and the Tigers and whatnot. So they found ways to win baseball games. That doesn't mean that the next stretch of 17 games when you're taking on the Mariners and the Brewers and the Dodgers are going to go your direction. Like, I've always felt like when the Cardinals play the NL Central, they expose the weakness of the Cardinals. So when they see Milwaukee, when they see Pittsburgh, I think those are going to go the opposite direction. So to the conversation you guys were having about the playoff odds and the percentages, yeah, I would say the Mets are in a better spot, because I think the quality of opponents the Cardinals have gone up against is going to get a lot more difficult with a lot fewer days off, and that's going to really hurt this Cardinals team.
Yeah, they're about to come crashing down probably in a significant way. And the reason I say that is you make reference to what they've played so far. They've played 8 series. 3 of those teams are above 500, and combined, those 3 teams are only 5 games above 500. So when they play the teams so far above 500, they're barely above it. You look at where they rank in all statistical categories. Offense is like bottom 10, essentially. Yep. Their pitching staff as a whole is bottom like 5. You can't sustain that against these really good teams. It would be shocking. Now, maybe they surprise us and the offense heats up at the right time, or the pitching goes on a little bit of a tear. But coming into this stretch of their schedule where you get good teams like the Mariners, like the Pirates, like the Dodgers, I think the Padres are in the back half of that, or the A's. Yeah, this is probably that stretch where it's going to come crashing down in a hard way for the Cardinals.
From the 636, guys, remember, if those teams are bad, aren't those the teams that you're supposed to beat? That's what they say. You play 500 against the good teams. The record shows they are off to a good start. Exactly. That's how I feel. If the Cardinals can go somewhere around 500 in the stretch of 17 games, like if they go 8-9 against Seattle, Pittsburgh, LA, Milwaukee, and San Diego, if you're able to go 8-9 over that stretch of games against those legit high-level teams, I'll feel pretty good about that going into the middle of May. T-Bone's fears are legit, though. You're about to go into a stretch where you're probably going to have 6 men in your rotation, which means you're pulling out one of those options from your bullpen. And I know some would say, well, that's a good thing. You're pulling out one of the weaknesses. Yeah, in theory. The problem is you now have 1 fewer arms to go to over this 17-game stretch. Now, my guess is they will also be able to play the Memphis game, where they're going to add somebody and subtract from the roster over the course of this 17-game stretch to get some new options for them in the pen. But it's going to be tough. This is not going to be an easy stretch of baseball games. I know Seattle is currently under 500. Look at the quality of that roster. That's not a typical under 500 team. They've got a lot of guys that have not hit their stride yet. Cal Raleigh has been terrible. Julio Rodriguez has not started hitting just yet. Josh Naylor has not started hitting just yet. The goal for the Cardinals in this series is keep them down. Find a way to keep those slumping players down, and they will not see Brendan Donovan in this series either, who's been arguably their best hitter so far this year, because he is going on the injured list starting this weekend. So Cardinals versus the Mariners starting on Friday night. T-Bone will be in attendance. I'll be in attendance for that one as well. So expect something weird to happen as the Cardinals play against Seattle Friday night. We will break that thing down as we get closer tomorrow here on BK and Ferrario. Alongside Alex and T-Bone, I'm BK. 314-399-9646. That is the Air Comfort Service text line to get involved in the show. In 15 minutes, there are new rumors today leading into tonight's NFL draft that a team is dangling out a former Pro Bowl caliber wide receiver to potentially get into the first round. We'll tell you who that is coming up in about 15 minutes. But next, how do the Blues compare to other teams that are in the retool box, so to speak? We'll talk about that next here on 101 ESPN. Alongside Alex and T-Bone, I'm BK. Alex, you ready to make T-Bone mad?
Sure. I like doing that.
Just a day in
Man,
July.
this week has all been let's target T-Bone, and it's been enjoyable.
Kind of
The
weird.
Phillies have released Taijuan Walker.
Oh.
He is in the final year of his 4-year, $72 million contract. So far this season, he's been awful. 9.1 ERA in his 5 starts so far this season. He was the definition of fine last year, Alex. He did not strike anybody out. He had a okay walk rate. He had a 4.1 ERA on the season. But he was at least fine, which is usable, and you can get some innings out of him. He's 33 years old. He absolutely would not be part of the St. Louis Cardinals' future. But I presented this during the break, and I'm curious your thoughts on it. Is this something you would consider if you're the Cardinals? Because you could get him on the veteran minimum. I mean, you have to pay him absolutely nothing.
You don't have to pay him that money, right?
No, he's released. This is not a scenario where he's like going through waivers. He's a veteran, so he doesn't have to do any of that. He's getting paid his money by the Phillies no matter what. Whoever picks him up would literally just pay him the minimum to come in and throw some innings for them if somebody decides to pick up Taijuan Walker. Now, I don't know if there's something more here behind the scenes. You never know on that stuff. The fact that he's being released this early in the season could be because the Phillies are doing that thing that the Cardinals have done in the past where they're like, oh my God, we have no idea what to do. Get rid of this guy. He's a problem. Get rid of him. That may be part of it. Maybe there's something more. I don't know. If there is, that would obviously change some of the factors here. But if it's just the pitching, if they just think he's terrible right now, which he is, I would give serious consideration to signing him to a veteran minimum deal, coming in, seeing if there's anything left. You have literally 6 starters right now. And I'm talking at the AAA and Major League level that are Major League caliber starters. I would send one of them down, whether that's Leahy or Palante, probably one of those two. Send one of them down. They can serve as that extra arm while you're going through this stretch where you've got 6 arms in your rotation, including most likely Hunter Dobbins. And now you add in Taijuan Walker, who is that veteran presence that can go out there every 5th or, in this case, 6th day. And maybe you end up getting something for him at the deadline. More likely, though, you probably use him for a couple of months and then you send him away again whenever you're able to develop some more of this depth in AAA. Hopefully Quinn Matthews or Bryson Motts are able to figure it out. But I think this would be a worthwhile signing for the Cardinals.
Well, and why would I send Hunter Dobbins down? Why not just keep, or why would I bring Hunter Dobbins up and send Leahy or Palante down? Why not just keep Dobbins down to continue to pitch at AAA? And I that question to be said, yes, I would absolutely do this because what are you in? A rebuild. This is what you do in a rebuild. You just go out there and find guys that can get you through. And with Taijuan Walker, by no means do I think he becomes a project that can be fixed. I just think you bring him in to do what you said. Extend the life of this depth in your minor league system an extra month or two. And if he goes out there and gets hit around, guess what? You can just cut him and move on and then bring up Hunter Dobbins and let him perform in that spot. So, yeah, I think with the injury to Richard Fitz, without him being available, I absolutely would take a shot on something like this just because he's an arm and hope that something improves slightly with Taijuan Walker.
That's the thing. If it doesn't work, you lost a couple of games and you move on and you're back to the same spot that you were previously and maybe you bought yourself a couple of weeks. Like maybe you got through this 17 games in 17-day stretch without having to call up Hunter Dobbins or by sending Kiley down, whatever they decide to do in this scenario. I think it makes a lot of sense. Now, T-Bone, why do you hate it?
I have no interest in him. I think you just keep running it with the guys that you have in the organization. You know, you go with your 6 guys when you get to the 6-man rotation, when they get to the 17 days and 17-day stretch, and then you send down one of Dobbins or Leahy. You don't block them for Taijuan Walker. You let those guys pitch at the big league level. You see what Dobbins has at the big leagues, or you see what Leahy has at the big league level, depending on how they want to go, or Palante, even if he's one of those guys you want to choose in this conversation as well. I just don't think you need Taijuan Walker right now. I think you just stick with what you have and you just throw out the young guys. Yes, I agree they are in a rebuild, but they've got guys that are ready to be pitching at the big leagues. A lot of signings like this for Taijuan Walker, like the Nationals, for example, who signed Miles Michaelis, who we saw in that series, that was truly a holy bleep, we don't even have 5 arms that are ready for the major league level, so let's let Michaelis start and get killed when he goes out there. It doesn't matter to us. The Cardinals have 6 guys that are ready. Yes, their depth is thin. I do agree on that sentiment.
Not positive they have 6 guys that are ready. I don't think Kyle Leahy looks like a starter right now.
I was just looking at it to see Leahy and Palante. I think they've been saved from their numbers getting more like Taijuan Walker with some excellent defense behind them.
And I would say for Palante, he to me is in a different conversation. Leahy would be the one for me. I'm just not there on him. I don't think he looks the part of a starter. He has a 5.7 ERA so far this year, and nothing about it feels like it's a mirage. Like the underlying numbers also suggest this ain't working so far. His execution has been pretty terrible.
And the reason I lean not signing Walker is because though I agree, I'm not sure Leahy's a starter. My sense on the Cardinals is they're going to ride that out with Leahy. And if you're going to ride it out with Leahy, and I'm going to take that approach then, I don't think you go out and get Taijuan Walker.
Couldn't I just ride it out with Leahy while he's in AAA?
Could, but at this point, I also think Dobbins is ready to go. Like, I wouldn't want to block Walker for Dobbins.
And with Taijuan Walker,
I don't think you're actually really quote-unquote blocking anybody. Like, Leahy can go down to AAA and continue to get his innings and continue to get his work and figure out what it looks like and what it means to be a starter. Because his execution right now wouldn't work in AAA or the major league level. Like, there's stuff here that, in my opinion at least, I think he's got a lot to work on to become a quality major league starter. Now, he's also 29 years old, so maybe he would say, shove it. I don't want to go down to AAA. I don't want to ride buses. I'll just go back to the bullpen, which also is
that'd be good for the Cardinals.
Then Hunter Dobbins, you're the one that goes down to AAA and just stays down in Memphis while you continue to get prepared for the major league season.
And like I look at Taijuan Walker, in his last 4 games, he's given up 8 home runs. If you can find a way to not give up the home run ball, how much different is he than Palante or Kyle Leahy?
100%. And this is a ballpark where you can potentially limit some of that.
And I mean, he's given him 4 or 5 innings, and the only reason he's probably not going deeper because he's thrown 64, 89, 85, 87. The only reason he's not going deeper is because the games are getting so far out of hand because of the home runs he's given up. So, I mean, I don't think you're blocking anybody. I think what you're doing is you might be strengthening your bullpen. If Leahy does say, shove it, I'm not going down to Memphis, and I go to the bullpen, great. If Leahy's fine with it, or if you just keep Dobbins down there. I just think what you're doing is you're extending the lifespan of not having to call up a Quinn Matthews or a Bryson Motts or any of these guys to the major league level at some point because everybody's going to be burnt out by the time you get to June. Man, extend the life cycle for another month by just bringing up a guy who honestly is just a dog chew toy. He's going to go out there and he might get beat up a little bit, but he's going to give you a month where you don't have to worry about any of these other younger arms.
I just think that a lot of this is about a splitter. Like, if he can get that split finger back to where it was a year ago, you probably have a pretty darn good pitcher. And I think you could get something for him at the trade deadline. Like, seriously, if you're able to get this figured out, the thing for the Phillies, they don't have time to get it figured out with Taijuan Walker. So if this is purely a baseball decision, it makes sense for Philadelphia. They've got other guys that are coming through their system right now that, like, he is blocking legitimate major league quality pitchers that could come up from AAA and help them right now to get out of the mess of their own creation. They've also got, as T-Bone mentioned earlier, they've got Zach Wheeler coming back to their rotation. So that could be part of this conversation too. The Cardinals don't have that. Like, they don't have a Zach Wheeler. They don't have an Andrew Painter that's ready to go at the major league level. So what do I think is more likely? You're able to figure out the split finger for Taijuan Walker, or Kyle Leahy becomes a legitimate starter at the major league level. I think it's more likely you're able to figure out the split finger for Taijuan Walker.
And again,
if you do, you could get an asset for him at the trade deadline, similar to what you're looking for Dustin May this season. Now, he doesn't have the kind of stuff that Dustin May does, but you're not asking him to. You could get, like, a lottery ticket prospect for him. The odds on you figuring out something with Kyle Leahy, in my opinion, are much lower than that. So,
hey, you got something for John Gant.
I'd go in this direction.
You can get something for anything.
Agreed.
What do we get for Gant?
Wasn't that
J-Hap?
J-Hap, yeah.
Oh.
Helped you make the playoffs.
Yeah, I think this would be the inverse of that, where, like, Taijuan Walker is kind of your J-Hap.
Yeah.
Or maybe
we get John Gant.
Honestly, more similar to, like, a John Lester.
I'm really out then.
Remember that John Lester year where the Cardinals traded for him and they gave up Lane Thomas? Like, you could get your Lane Thomas in this scenario, who's not a great baseball player, but he's fine. He's useful. I mean, we've talked about him as a potential platoon option for the Cardinals in the past couple of seasons. You could go find a bat like that for a Taijuan Walker. You're not getting anything like that for Kyle Leahy.
I don't think there's
any starter.
I don't think there's anything wrong for a team that's rebuilding to take a chance on a guy that his stuff just isn't working somewhere. You guys rave about Dusty Blake. Give him a shot. And guess what? If it's
that's my argument for why I would say, all right, Dusty Blake, I'm going to trust him to fix Leahy. Rather than going out there and signing a 33-year-old washed-up
Leahy
starter
in the rotation for you if you're going to a six-man.
No, because you're probably going to call up Dobbins at that point.
But you don't have to
keep Dobbins on in Memphis.
I think Dobbins they want to bring up here. Like I think they want to see Dobbins here. Like I think they want to see Leahy and Dobbins in this rotation.
But why not wait a month?
Let those guys go.
What does a month matter if Taijuan Walker comes up here and he completely bombs for 2 weeks and you say nope, didn't work, and then we get Dobbins up?
Because I think they're just viewing this as in this rebuild we've got the arms to come up here and at least see if there's some upside in these guys compared to Walker, which is yes, he would be the chew toy, and I don't think you need that in this rotation right now.
I think rebuilding teams need those.
I think rebuilding teams like the Nationals need that. I think rebuilding teams like the Rockies need that.
Your pitching is not all that dissimilar from those teams.
And the Nationals, got kids that they think have upside, right? Like they think Leahy can be a starter. So I think you just don't give up on that 5 stars.
I actually believe that Leahy can be a good starter. I think they had a lack of.
I think
who's the alternative right now? What was the alternative if they didn't do this with Kyle Leahy this year?
They could have done Fitz to bring him in right away, right? They could have gone to Fitz.
Clearly, A, wasn't ready, and B, is hurt now.
Yeah, we were saying that in spring training.
What's the alternative to Kyle Leahy? If they decided,
if they didn't like Kyle Leahy and they didn't think he could be a starter, they could have just gone out and signed somebody.
Why would I spend the money in a rebuild?
I'm going to be spending money in this rebuild here with Walker.
It's $1 million. That's very different.
But you could get someone like that now.
You can't. A quality starter in the free agent market, which is what you're making the argument for here, would have cost you $10+ million. So if I'm going to go ahead and go about it this way, like, hey, I think Kyle Leahy can go out there, and worst case scenario, he gets hit around, whatever. And he's cheap. He's cost controlled.
If they wanted to add an arm right now, I would have gone out and done the Giolito deal that he just got with the Padres. That was like $3 million for this year.
But if you're Giolito, you don't have to do that with the Cardinals because I can go to the Padres, who are a contender.
Well, he didn't. I don't think he had that offer on the table until just recently. Like I would have just, if you wanted to abandon ship on Leahy, you could have probably gotten to Giolito before the Padres did.
But if you're the Cardinals, I see why they wanted to go about this with Kyle Leahy. I think we've now seen 4 starts from him. We've seen a month. Does anybody feel good about the Kyle Leahy starting experiment?
No, but I wouldn't give up after 4 starts.
Okay.
I think
and I don't think they are either, to be fair.
I think your team might be in a better position if he was in your bullpen right now. And I think if you're asking me
we don't care about the position there.
Well, sure. But I think if you're asking me what next year looks like, he's not in my rotation.
No.
This was an experiment for 1 year. Next year, they're thinking Quinn Matthews, Bryson Motts, Richard Fitz, Hunter Dobbins, Matthew Liberatore. I think Palante,
Doyle.
Yeah, I think
all these guys are going to jump in.
Palante and Leahy are, for lack of a better phrase, sacrificial lambs to get you through the first year of a rebuild.
No doubt.
And I would take on a sacrificial lamb that I don't care if his arm breaks because I'd rather have a Leahy who's good for me in the bullpen, whether it's this year or next year.
Yeah, I understand the idea behind trying this with Kyle Leahy. I don't blame them at all. I think it was probably a smart call. You pay nothing for it. He can eat innings for you, and maybe there's some upside there. After 4 starts, I don't feel overly confident. In fact, I would be very pessimistic right now. I'm bearish on the market for Kyle Leahy as a starter. I think he's a very good reliever. I think he has legitimate value coming out of the bullpen. And if he wants to continue this experiment and you have an opportunity to sign Taijuan Walker, who I think there's a lot more upside in, frankly, as a starting pitcher, then Kyle Leahy can go down to AAA and get it fixed there. Or Hunter Dobbins stays down in AAA. Either of those 2 scenarios to me are fine. I don't think you have to have these guys throwing right now at the big league level as starters. The other alternative is what Alex said, where Kyle Leahy just goes to the bullpen. And I can have him continue to get a little bit more bulk innings coming out of the bullpen. So either way, I think that makes a lot of sense to me. I don't think they're going to do it probably, but I do think this is the kind of opportunity that presents itself where the Cardinals should at least explore it a bit. Coming up next, we were going to talk about the NFL, but we were also supposed to talk about the Blues here, so we will talk about the Blues coming up next here on 101 ESPN.
Tanner Hendrickson here with the Sports Center update brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling. Cardinals fell to the Marlins yesterday 4-1 as they dropped 2 of 3 in Miami. They are off today. They'll be back in action tomorrow night when they host the Seattle Mariners for 3 games. 7:15 will be first pitch. George Kirby will be on the mound for the Mariners. Andre Palante will get the start for St. Louis. The Sports Update was brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling, a Daikin heating and air conditioning dealer.
I'm so sorry, Alex.
Man, we're never going to get to the Blues. That's okay, though.
So sorry.
That's okay. Omaha!
There's breaking news in the NFL. More pictures have been released of Dianna Russini and Mike Vrabel allegedly, reportedly.
Juicy.
Juicy.
The New York Post has put out some new pictures of Mike Vrabel and Dianna Russini, the former reporter for The Athletic and the head coach of the New England Patriots. The picture is reportedly from March 11th of 2020.
I think that was a very instrumental date in our history.
It was. I remember being on the air around that time with Anthony Stalter and Jamie Rivers. We were out at the Centene Community Ice Center, and I was making a running list of which events and sports had been canceled
Did this
due
make
to COVID.
the list?
I wasn't aware of this at the time.
Man.
But these pictures, I mean, they appear to show the two getting comfy at a New York City bar, and it appears in one of them as though they're kissing.
Could be close talking.
Could be.
He could be checking her breath to see if whatever she ate was poisonous.
Could have been that. Could be that he was checking to see if she had COVID.
Yeah, could be giving her mouth-to-mouth resuscitation. Maybe she was choking on a grape. Like, you were the one that pointed it out to us. Let's not jump to conclusions.
He also has his arm gently caressing her arm.
Making sure that she's breathing properly.
It appears to be that.
And her pulse is correct if she was choking. But again, you elegantly put it to T-Bone and I. Sometimes you talk to people like this. You get close to people when you speak to them. You lean over a bar chair and get in their face to talk to them.
How he greets us in the morning.
So
gross.
Can I ask you guys a question about this? We're talking about this off air.
My lawyer's present.
I know.
All of this allegedly.
Let's say these were two single individuals, because I think this is a huge part of the story, right? It is everything that we as Americans are drawn to, right? Like, we are flies, and that is the light, and we cannot help ourselves but go towards it. We know it's bad for us, but we're going there anyways.
What's that cartoon movie? Oh, no. Oh, no.
So, like, this is two married individuals that appear, based upon all reports, to have maybe had some kind of a relationship outside of their respective marriages, if you were to believe what the photos indicate here. And, like, there's a lot going on here. It's a reporter who's nationally relevant. It's a head coach who was a Super Bowl winner as a player, and now they're potentially, doing this stuff, right?
What stuff?
So, we don't know. If they were single, how much of a story would this be? I'm truly asking. Like,
for you and me, I would say not a story at all. I think this would still be a story for people around the league, or for people that have high standards when it comes to journalist integrity. I think that would matter to people still. At least I've seen people responding that way. For you and me, I could give two craps about it. I don't care how I get my information. If you're going to go out there and be serenaded by the coach to get your information, more power to you. You're getting me
I would personally want to go about it. Like, I'm not going to be, saddling up next to Ollie Marmol to get our information, but
clip that, send that to Ollie. He'll never let him in the ballpark again. Ollie, be
I would not do that. But, I
can't get the image.
Where's the cowboy hat? Would you say that again with the cowboy hat on?
I don't know what the rules are in sports journalism anymore. I don't know what the rules are in journalism anymore.
That's part of it.
For people that read
I'm truly
articles,
asking.
People don't care as long as you're getting the information and you're correct with your information.
I don't think they care until they know how you get it.
Yeah, I think once it's
it's like sausage. You don't want to know how it's made until you see there's pig intestines in there.
If she was,
don't tell him that, man.
Seriously, dude,
he
quit
loves
trying
hot
to ruin
dogs.
my day. I think originally people wouldn't care until they know how she got it. And the reason that I say that is because I think even if she was single and this came out with Vrabel, which is alleged of what they're doing, the Athletic was still going to suspend her and then potentially go through the process because it's not a good look for the company. So they would be kind of virtual signaling, hey, we don't accept this. So then the outside would say, okay, I guess we're not supposed to accept this either, if that makes sense.
And I think NFL teams are still treating this the same way with Mike Vrabel that they've been treating it now. Like, hey, you need to address this, and we need to try and figure out what to do. Take a leave of absence for a little bit.
From the 636, why even is this a question, BK? If I go on a date while I'm single versus while I'm married, then obviously one is terrible compared to the other. No doubt. And that's why I'm trying to make this a different...
You're not getting information that, like, matters to people. You're not covering a professional sport.
The potential for having an extramarital affair, if that is what took place here, we don't know for certain, but if that is what happened here, like, that part of the conversation to me is almost separate, because that doesn't get you fired from your job. That's happened a lot. I guess it can get you fired from your job, but a lot of the time, you see a CEO that has an affair, he's not getting fired. He'll potentially go to counseling, as we're seeing here with Mike Vrabel, and then they move on. They go their separate ways. I'm talking about the actual receiving of the information. If you were aware ahead of time, Alex, that there is a reporter who was in a relationship with an NFL, let's say it's a player instead of a coach, right? Like, there's one of the leading reporters and they are in a relationship with an NFL football player. And you're pretty sure they're getting their information on this team through that player, right? Like, they get injury updates. They get updates on what the draft is. Let's say it's a reporter that's dating the quarterback for a team.
Oh my God, just like high school.
And they're like, that is their relationship. Do you care that is how she's getting information from that team, or he is getting information from that team?
Do I care as a fan of the Professional National Football League? Absolutely not. As long as your information is correct, I could care less how you're getting your information. I don't. I don't think it matters in that sense. Now, there's a moral side of it that I take on, but you said without it. And if they're single...
I'm talking about if you're somebody that is receiving the information, you are wanting to be informed about the league. Let's say this person, T-Bone, was dating the quarterback for the Rams. Now, obviously, Stafford is married, so that's a different conversation. But let's say Jimmy Garoppolo was suddenly your starting quarterback instead of the backup.
Oh, I'd have other questions.
And you've got
He was a starter once.
Exactly. And you've got a reporter who's dating Jimmy Garoppolo. And that's a starting quarterback for the Rams, and they start reporting a lot of information about the Rams. Now, I think the Rams would want to shut that down. They'd be like, hey, Jimmy, chill, dude. Like, we can't have this information getting out there. That being said, aside from that, as a reader of the information who wants to be informed on your favorite team, do you care if that is how they get the information?
I don't care, but what's weird about it is I don't care, but I still think the Athletic would step in, right? Like, I think the news organization would step in and say,
I think teams in the company would still have problems with
otherwise,
all of
why
that.
Would, I get it on the moral, Dianna Russini is a different one allegedly because of the fact that she's married, but I do think that the newspaper organization would suspend them. Or if not suspend them, fire them, I do think that would still happen, which then almost makes me wonder, am I supposed to view this information differently? Because that's kind of what the Athletic signaled in the Russini situation here, which was...
I think she got let go potentially because she may have misled them. And may have told them something that was not true. And I think that's a big part of these kinds of PR crises. If you get yourself into hot water like this, and you are telling your higher-ups stuff that isn't true, and then they find out later on that it's not true, that's how you get yourself fired. If you are truthful and you say, hey, listen, this happened, here's kind of where everything's at, and you're honest and open about it, you may be disciplined still, but I do think the type of discipline may have been slightly different here.
Yeah, I think the noise around it, if I'm working for a company and I'm a writer, I think the noise around it would be too much that I might have to distance myself from it.
That's where it just gets hard is it's unprecedented, right? We've never really, I can't think of any moment like this in history, but that's what makes it so tough is I tend to agree with what you're saying, right? Should I care how the sausage is made? Probably not, right? I enjoy the sausage. It tastes good. I like what we're reading.
Can we stop using sausage as a euphemism?
Then the sausage manufacturer tells me, hey, this actually is a big deal because we're suspending our sausage production. So what am I supposed to make of that, right? That's where
sausage.
I don't know how to react to that. I kind of agree with you guys, but it's clear the Athletic said, no, this is a big deal, and they suspended her right away. So,
well, and I think the team would tell a player in the scenario that you painted of the reporter dating a player. I think the team would tell the player that needs to end.
I agree, and that's about leaks, right? And that's any organization. They don't want leaks out, and that would be any walk of life, regardless of if it's football, basketball, or something out completely outside of the sports realm. But, man, I also think a big part of this story here is what it's like to be a woman in sports journalism, and I just can't relate to that.
Yeah.
That is not
right.
something that I've had experience with, clearly. So I don't know what that's like. Because, Alex, we've seen this in a lot of different walks of life where we were both with our significant others that we're still with today when we were in college. So we didn't enter the workplace as single individuals. T-Bone he also is in a workplace that is primarily male. But for a lot of people, where they meet their significant others is through work, right? Like, you spend as much time with the people that you work with as you do anybody else. And it's hard to meet people nowadays, right? Like, everybody's working all the time. You've got stuff that you've got to do. And so for somebody like Dianna Russini, she's probably spending a lot of time with these other people that are around the game, whether that's people that are in the game, coaches, players, etc., or other reporters. So it would be natural if that is where she finds some attraction to some of these people, and then something happens. I've never had that because there isn't that attraction for me with the people that I'm covering, right? Like, so I do think that's a big part of the story, and I think we're all kind of dancing around it because it's an uncomfortable part of the story. But she's an attractive woman. He's a good-looking dude, and they ended up, if you believe the pictures to be true, maybe being attracted to one another. That is not something that we've ever had to deal with in our line of work, and I don't know how that works. Because this is not something like, let's be real, this has been a male-dominated industry for most of the time that sports have existed. Sports writing there were not very many female sports writers until really like the last 20 years or so. And now this is the first time that we're seeing stuff documented out in public to where stuff like this could even come out the way that it has with the Dianna Russini situation. So we've had some people asking, why are we talking about this? Because I do wonder if this is something we're going to have to confront sooner rather than later. Is what does it look like? How do we feel if this happens? If this is the kind of relationship that does exist with reporters like Dianna Russini that are covering the game? I don't know if there are other relationships like this happening right now. It would not surprise me, though, and it also would not bother me. But I think it's going to be up to individual fans, individual listeners, individual readers, viewers, whatever the case may be, to determine how they feel about that.
Yeah. I don't think people are going to stop reading anybody that's involved in stuff like this because it's information that people want about one of the most, if not the most, entertaining and exciting professional sports leagues in the world. And I think fans are going to continue to absorb that information, but they will be the butt of every joke. They will be discussed in every conversation, and every time they report on something, it will be, how'd you get that information? And then it comes down to, do companies want to involve themselves with this? Do teams want to involve themselves with this? And that's why I think regardless if it's a single person, a married person, it's going to be talked about. And you're right. Like, I think it's a lot more prolific in terms of everybody talking about it and everywhere on social media when it's a female versus a male, because sex sells.
Yeah.
Sex sells in every scenario you can wonder about. And in something like this, that's why people are still talking about it.
Yeah. I don't know, man. Somebody on the text line said, guys, but she is married, and so that is part of the conversation. No doubt. Yeah.
Both of them are married. It's not just her that's married. He's married too.
Yeah, with kids.
He's doing it to his wife and his kids, just like she's doing it to his husband and her kids.
If that's the problem that people have in this scenario, dude, I totally get that. Like, you can feel however you want to about that part of the conversation, but that to me is separate. I'm using this as a vessel to talk about what I believe to be a real conversation in media. And it's not just sports. This is the kind of stuff that also exists in news, maybe more so. Like, it's been more prominent in the past with political media, where there are some relationships that exist, especially in Washington, between reporters and people that work in politics. And then it gets a lot of wires crossed on what can you report on, what can't you report on, how much does this matter, does this matter? Like, there was a very prominent story on this with newsie out in New York where she ended up having a relationship with RFK Jr. and was writing like a huge story on him and did not disclose that to her company. And then she was let go by that company because it was a huge conflict of interest for her to be in a relationship with a guy that she was doing a big story on. So I find it really interesting, and I don't know what the future is going to hold for all this stuff.
We really got to go to break. BK's leading us into politics now. He's going. Did you see him going that way?
I knew I need my lawyer present.
We got to go to break. We got to go to break.
Coming up next, questions and answers here on 101 ESPN. Alongside Alex and T-Bone, I'm BK. It's BK and Ferrario here on 101 ESPN. If you guys want to get involved in the show, if you guys have any questions, go ahead and get them in right now on the Air Comfort Service text line. Our text line, Alex, right now is a combination of people being highly interested in the subject that we just discussed and people who say they have no interest in the subject that we just discussed. So it's a 50-50 split. Yeah, pretty much.
So I know we're doing our job right today.
Hell yeah. Look at that discussion.
From Cottleville Comeover, Alex, I know it's early, and we don't know what the draft picks are going to be just yet, but what's your perfect offseason look like for the Blues?
We really want to waste a segment later on in the offseason with this?
Do like 10,000 or 30,000 vote.
Finding a way to draft in the top 10 and acquiring a younger centerpiece that you can look at and say he can be a part of our second line in the future would be my perfect offseason.
What else?
That would probably be it. I don't really think. And to me, keep Jordan Bennington and Colton Parayko and Robert Thomas. he's involved with one of those trades.
Okay.
He's involved with the trade of either moving up into the top 10 or acquiring that second-line centerpiece. That would be my perfect offseason. If you want names, I would like them to trade for Matty Beniers. I would like them to trade up probably to 7 or 8 to try and draft one of Caleb Malhotra, Vigo Bjork, or Ty Lawrence.
314-399-9646 is the Your Comfort Service text line for questions and answers. From the 636, do you guys see any players coming available via trade where the Blues would give up all 3 of their first-round picks for anything other than Brady Tkachuk or Austin Matthews? Is there anybody else that you would potentially be willing to give up all 3 first-round picks for, Alex?
All 3, people aren't going to like this answer, and I know Mike McKenna had told us that it's too much to pay for Matty Beniers. I think it's probably the price to pay for Matty Beniers, and I would pay it for him, which we're talking about the 11th, the 15th, and the 31st or 32nd overall pick. I know it's a lot, but Matty Beniers is 24 years old. Matty Beniers is a former second overall pick, and he is locked up until 2031 at $7 million. To me, he's 23 years old. To me, this is a guy that I think can put up 25 goals, be somewhere between 70 and 80 points if he's put with the right player, and he's incredible defensively. That's a second-line center for me that I can only pray I find in the draft that could help me sooner rather than later.
314-399-9646 is the Your Comfort Service text line for questions and answers. From the 636, guys, question for you. I'm going to the game tomorrow night and Saturday, but I have to get tickets for tomorrow. Where should we sit? Because I simply cannot decide. I'm assuming this is about the Cardinals. For me, I don't know how you guys feel about this. I'm sure you've got a spot that you like to sit, T-Bone, but a lot of the time will just buy the cheapest tickets that I can find on the secondary market, and then I'll go sit up in the upper right field corner and get my $5 beers during the game, hang out up there in the Budweiser deck. So that's the direction that I personally go more often than not. It's got great room for me with the little guy. And again, the $5 beers speak to me. So
that's a good spot. The other one that my family has done a lot, and the funny thing I say that is, I don't think this is where we are, but that Redbird Club, I think is what they call it. It's kind of like in the second deck. It's got nice. Most of the seats are kind of covered over top from that third deck there, and then it's got a nice indoor area with a bunch of different styles of food. Like there's pizza, there's like pulled pork, so you can get whatever you want there. That's kind of the go-to for us. And then if it's like a super hot day, like if it's later in the season, you can go on air conditioning for a little bit. So that's kind of the one that my family goes and hangs out at.
I could care less.
Green
you can
seats
sit me.
for you.
I've never sat in the green
Those
seats.
pregame hosts.
I'd like to try the green seats. I've never sat in them. I bet they would be fun. If you offer me Cardinals tickets, I'll probably go. It doesn't matter where they're at. Yeah.
Well, stadium's great. You don't really have a bad seat.
And my girls could care less. Like, I just need space for them to walk around and whatnot. But if it's a very hot day, I'd like my seats to be at home.
They're not doing a scorecard yet? You're not working on that?
No, hell no. My girls can't keep their attention for more than 5 minutes to something.
314-399-9646 is the Your Comfort Service text line for questions and answers. From Bishan about sports, as a Colts fan, how should I watch the draft tonight? I need ideas. How should I hate watch the draft tonight? Excuse me. If you're hate watching the draft, I would just say, watch for the team that trades up to get Ty Simpson. That's the thing that I would be laughing about. Other than that, though, I don't think this is a draft that's easy to hate watch. I guess maybe you could laugh at the team that drafts the running back in the top 5 if you want to. T-Bone might do that. I will not be doing that because I think Jeremiah Love's awesome.
I will be.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I will be.
I got it wrong on.
And really, it's only one team, because if the Titans take them there, I'm okay with that. If a team trades up, that makes sense. Sure. Cardinals, I'll be laughing at.
Yeah, other than that, though, I don't think this is a draft. Most of the time, it's the quarterbacks. You can laugh about the team that overdrafts the quarterback, but I think there's only one. Yeah. Maybe if Carson Beck were to go, that would be wild to me, but I can't see it.
Yeah, and I don't know if that there's there's some drafts where we'll see the one that sticks out to me is the Raiders. When a couple years ago they had a 5th round or 5th overall or 10th overall pick, and they took a guy that people were projecting in the 2nd or 3rd round, that guy from Clemson. If one of those happens, typically I'd say, well, that's stupid and you can hate watch that. But the funny thing is in this year's draft, I think there's going to be surprises that people go, why had that guy go into the 3rd round? Mm-hmm. And typically would laugh at that. This draft's not that good, so I could see where there's some teams that are reaching and make a pick that you're not expecting.
From Mark Daniels, who covers the Patriots for Mass Live, said Mike Vrabel is scheduled to speak to the media tonight if the Patriots make a pick. In the event that they trade out, Elliot Wolf, the general manager, would be scheduled to talk on Friday, and then on Saturday it would be with their assistant GM. So if the Patriots were to trade out of their first-round pick, Vrabel would not be on the media schedule until May 27th.
Man, how wild!
I've got a prediction.
Yeah, I'm going to bet they trade that pick.
I just got a prediction.
Well,
prediction, boys.
I can tell you now, they are working hard on that A.J. Brown trade.
I've got a prediction. They won't trade it, and then Vrabel won't talk.
No, they're definitely not picking with the 31st overall selection tonight. I don't know who is, but I feel strongly about two things in this year's draft. Number one is Mendoza. Number 31 is not the Patriots.
You can probably get that at a discount right now, too. They are trying to get rid of that bad boy.
If you're somebody selecting at the top of the second round, just give them a call.
Yeah.
Say, hey, man, we'll give you like our 7th round pick. Hey, Jets.
Are you kidding me? It's
congratulations, you're moving up from 33 to 31.
It's blackmail. How about you send me the pick and I send you nothing, or if Mike Vrabel has to talk to the media?
That's amazing. All right, coming up in 15 minutes, we will get into our NFL draft superlatives. But next, yes, we will actually talk about the St. Louis Blues.
Until another
How do they compare to the other teams that have been the retool bucket? We'll talk about that next year on 101 ESPN. Alongside Alex and T-Bone, I'm BK. You got BK and Ferrario here on 101 ESPN. It is time to talk about your St. Louis Blues, Alex.
Heck yeah.
So I was watching last night. Yeah, I watched a little hockey yesterday.
You should have. Those were entertaining. Don't watch the Thunderbirds game.
Oof. Yeah, that didn't go well.
Turned that on and it turned it off pretty quick.
I watched the Penguins game against the Flyers, Alex. The Penguins are now down 3-0 against the Flyers. And I was thinking about the Flyers, where they've been, where they're at right now. It's kind of similar in terms of the trajectory to where the Blues were at this time last year, where they don't have a star-studded roster. They've got a lot of guys that have been drafted pretty high. They've maybe got some names that you've heard of before. But here's a quick question for you. T-Bone, I want your thoughts on this, because Alex might be more likely to get it right. No offense. How many 70-point producers do you think the Philadelphia Flyers had this season?
First off, hurtful. Second, fair. 70-point producers on the Flyers.
A team that had
PK
close
question.
to 100 points overall and is now on the verge of reaching the second round of the playoffs.
I know this answer.
I'm thinking 2. It's either 2 or 0. I'm thinking 2.
I think it's 0.
0. Yeah. They did not have a single 70-point producer.
was the closest, right? Didn't he have 60-something?
Konechny had 68. Zegras had 67. Here's a follow-up question. How many 30-goal scorers did they have?
0.
0. Mm-hmm. They had 3 25-goal scorers, 4 20-goal scorers, and that's it. They were bottom, I think, 10 in the NHL this year in goal scoring as a team. They were elite, though, at goal prevention. And the reason that I wanted to bring this up, Alex, is because that is very similar to the style of hockey that Jim Montgomery would like to play. Maybe more on the goal scoring side of things, but the goal prevention is really what he cares about. So you look at the Flyers. I think you can also throw a team like Detroit into this mix. I think the Blues are there. Nashville is there.
LA.
I would throw the LA Kings into this mix. Those 5 teams have kind of been in this retool purgatory over the last 3 to 5 years. Where would you put the Blues ranking-wise among those 5 teams for their future projections? Forget where they've been, where they're at. What about their future? Where do they rank among those teams that have been retooling?
Out of Philly, Detroit, Nashville, and LA, I would have them right behind Philly at 2. I think Philly's in a much better spot. I have concerns about their center depth. I think Zegras has been awesome this year. Christian Dvorak has been really good, but I don't know how long that lasts. But they've got potential superstars on their roster, like Porter Martone. I don't know if people have watched him yet. This dude is awesome. I mean, he is the perfect fix of power forward with skill, but also really good defensive play. Michkov has had a bad year, and that guy still has the potential to be a star. But like, I look at them and I say that they could probably sustain that. I'd have the Blues probably right there with them in terms of tied for first, because I think the Blues have multiple outs with stars. Thomas is better than any center that the Philadelphia Flyers have. And I think Holloway and Snuggerud at their best are probably similar to Porter Martone and Matvei Michkov. And then you go through their defense. Listen to this name of their defensemen: Sanheim, Ristolainen, York, Drysdale, Sealer, Yulson. If you were to tell me that the Blues had Broberg, Parayko, Mayu, Jiricek, Fowler, and Tucker, or Lindstein, I don't think it's that far off from them. And then your goaltending's better than that. I know Vladar's been awesome, but I don't expect that to last. So I think Philly has done a really good job. They play to an identity. I think Nashville and LA and Detroit are going in opposite directions. I thought of this last night because Doug had mentioned, he sees a lot of Steve Yzerman and Alexander Steen just in terms of how hard he works at his job. Detroit has massively failed, and I think we can all agree with this. They have spent the last 8 seasons drafting in the top 6 or 8, and with the exception of Maurice Seider, man, they have failed. Those guys have not turned out well. And look at where the Blues have drafted and who they've turned out to be pretty good pieces in terms of Snuggerud. Dvorsky looks like he's on the upswing. Carbonneau and Jiricek as well. So I think Detroit, Nashville, and LA are going in an opposite direction. And the Blues, they have the path to do kind of what Philadelphia has done. They just have to have their players take the necessary steps like Philly's guys have.
Philly would be the one that I'd look at and be like, yeah, maybe they're a little ahead of you because of some of the young talent. And I think they're well coached. I do wonder about the goalie situation long term, what that's going to look like for them. But I could see it. With Detroit, they're kind of where you are, but a little worse.
Yeah.
They don't have a Robert Thomas as part of their team, in my opinion. I don't think they have the same goalie situation as you do. I just feel better about the trajectory of the Blues. And then I think you're right on the Kings and the Predators. They're old. Both of them. Their best players are getting up there in age, and they're expensive. So I would rather be where the Blues are at today than either the Kings or the Predators for the future. Today, maybe those teams are a little better. Moving forward, I think the Blues are in better position. So I say all of that to get to what I wanted to talk about here, Alex. How would that influence your offseason decisions if you're the Blues? To know, relative to these other retooling teams, we're in a pretty good spot right now. Would that make you more likely to push forward? Would that just say, hey, let's go ahead and get these young guys in, incorporate that? How would it influence your offseason?
I think it would influence to be cautiously push forward, if that makes sense. Like, I'm not going to go out there and just start throwing around Carbonneau and Jiricek and first-round picks to go get something that doesn't make me better for the long term, just to make me better for the short term. But I would not hesitate to see a second-line center that has the potential to be somebody that could really raise the ceiling of my team and throw in some first-round picks. I wouldn't hesitate to go out there and throw some capital at a guy that could be a 40-plus goal scorer for my team on the second line, because I do think you're in a spot that, yes, you're cautious and you want to develop Carbonneau and Jiricek on top of Dvorsky and Snuggerud and Stenberg and Lindstein. But I also can see that these guys are a part of my future, and it's important to go out there and get somebody that can help those guys develop the proper way rather than keep them in a spot to where, and this is no disrespect meant to them, they're playing with Pius Suter or Pavel Buchnevich as the second-line center. That's not going to benefit their growth, whereas if you can get a legit center that can give them confidence. So, yeah, I would look at it that way. But I also would not hesitate to trade off pieces that I don't think are a part of my future, which gets you to Kyrou. We were just discussing Colton Parayko in the commercial break. If there's a deal that makes sense for the long term, I'm making it. I'm not going to get all horned up on I can make it to the final wild card spot next season, and now let's go throw all of these assets to get better next year.
Because the opposite of that would be what David Pagnotta said earlier today on the Daily Faceoff Rundown, where he says, sounds like St. Louis is looking to retool, not rebuild. They will continue to explore trades for Colton Parayko. He wants to stay in the West. Pagnotta added that the player most likely to be moved this offseason would be Jordan Binnington.
Yeah, I disagree with both of them. If they're retooling, now with the caveat of if they get the same type of offer for Colton Parayko that Buffalo handed, I'd have to seriously consider that. And I love Colton Parayko. But to get a top pair defenseman eligible and then another first-round pick, that's a massive deal. But I think if you are keeping the process moving forward of, like, we want these guys to develop, we think we can at least compete for one of those playoff spots, you have to have Binnington and Parayko on the team. Because Parayko is going to make life easier for you when you put Adam Jiricek on the roster next year, and a Theo Lindstein. Like, let's be honest, Theo Lindstein was fined this season because he played with Colton Parayko. And I don't think you have any success in the NHL next season if you don't have a goaltender that can give you competitive 40-plus games. So I wouldn't do any of that. I think the options in terms of moving pieces out in a retool would be Kyrou, Buchnevich, Pius Suter.
I don't feel as strongly about the Binnington thing. If you get a great offer for him, I'd consider it. I just don't think you're getting that great offer. I don't know where that's coming from after he had such a bad season.
Yeah.
If it was in a different scenario, if Binnington was coming off of a great season.
Like Hofer's year?
Exactly. And he got off to a bad start, but then was amazing down the stretch. And another team came to you, whether that's Edmonton or Florida or whoever, right? Like the team that is trying to get over the top this upcoming year. I would seriously consider listening to offers for him. But I don't think that offer is coming, and therefore I think it makes more sense to go the Alex route of keeping him on the roster. Parayko, to me, it's kind of similar where it's all about what the offer is. If somebody's willing to blow you away and Parayko is willing to go there, I'm open to moving him because he will be 33 years old. He's a guy that's not going to be here probably in his prime whenever you get back to not just winning, but really contending for a Stanley Cup championship. But barring that, yeah, I think he's a part of my team next year, and I think he's somebody that can help these young guys continue to progress their games as well. And I don't feel the need to remove him from the roster. The only guy that I'm really motivated to move this offseason is Pavel Buchnevich. And if I can find a good suitor with significant return that helps my team, I'll do it with Jordan Kyrou too. I would say the guys in terms of the likelihood to less likely for me, if I was in Alexander Steen's shoes to move this offseason, I would go Buch 1, probably Kyrou 2, Pius Suter 3, Jordan Binnington 4, Colton Parayko 5.
I think
that would probably be my list.
I think that's a fair list. I don't know if there's a motivation to move Parayko or Binnington. It's just if somebody comes calling and it makes sense for the long term, then yeah, I'm going to strike that deal. Now, I do have to keep in the back of my mind, though, like I have to fill that goaltending spot. Again, for people that didn't see it, the Thunderbirds goalie gave up 7 goals last night in like the first 22 minutes of the hockey game. Whatever you want to call it, they don't have a goaltender in their minor league system that's going to be ready within the next year or two.
I do trust, though, David Alexander to target the right guy.
Sure, but you're paying a price to go get them, whether overpaying in free agency.
I'm not worried about that. They've got the money. One-year deal. Go get one of these guys. They're a dime a dozen. Backup goalie.
You're end up just in the same spot you are now, which is once you lock up Hofer gets the Binnington money, and then this guy's getting the Hofer money now.
I just think it's going to be important for the amount of defensemen you have on your team to have that extra year of growth, to have a goaltender that can help you. And I know he was bad in the early portion of the season. The whole team was. Second portion of the season, he was much better. But yeah, I think that's a fair list to say in terms of moving pieces off of this roster. And I'll just give you this quote from Steve Yzerman, who had his press conference a little bit ago. They asked about the changes the Red Wings need to make. He said, most obviously, we need better players. So I like if you look.
So do we.
If you look at Detroit and St. Louis in the last 3 years, they're legitimately
the Spider-Man meme.
They're the same team. That team, though, has had 3 picks that have been 6th overall, 2 picks that have been 8th overall, and a 4th overall pick. And only the 4th overall pick has turned out to be something for them, and that's the Maurice Seider.
It's been interesting because they've gone about it in such different ways, too.
Yeah.
The Red Wings have really tried to push. And they've gone out and they've even added these guys that have this winning pedigree. Right? They go out and yes, but beyond him, it's Andrew Kopp. They went out and they got him. They go get David Perron. Didn't Vladdy play for them at one point in time as well? I mean, they've been Sherratt they bring in because he's got that gritty style that he plays. They bring in Justin Falk this year. I mean, they've brought in guys that have legit playoff experience, and it just hasn't mattered. No matter what they do, they keep whiffing on their free agency moves, and then the guys that they select in the top 10 just have not turned out, for the most part, to become the players that they needed them to be.
I would add that what you just brought up there, their adding of like grit and winning pedigree, is a cautionary tale of some of the things that we've talked about with the Blues.
Good point.
Right? Like we've talked about, and I do agree to an extent when we had the conversation of, man, the Blues just don't match up physically with these other teams in the playoffs. But I would add Detroit kind of did what we've been talking about and said, let's go ahead grit, let's go ahead that winning pedigree. No, that doesn't lead to wins. You do need some of those guys, but what you need mostly is talent. And that's the problem that Yzerman hasn't found in Detroit. He hasn't drafted well enough, and he hasn't brought in talent that's in their prime to help them win hockey games. You can add some grit, but you got to first have the talent. Otherwise, it leads to nothing.
Alongside Alex and T-Bone on BK in about 15 minutes, the Cardinals are about to enter a stretch that, at least according to T-Bone, could ultimately doom their season. We'll get into that coming up here in just a little bit. The NFL draft is tonight, though. You'll be able to hear full coverage right here on 101 ESPN starting at 6 o'clock. We're going to go through our NFL draft superlatives coming up next here on 101 ESPN. Quick news to pass along from the NFL. Kansas City Chiefs defensive back Dave Merritt was arrested last night for a misdemeanor domestic battery charge. When I immediately read these, Alex, I don't know if you guys do the same thing, but my thought is, oh no, what kind of domestic violence took place here? And is it, with his wife? Shortly after 9:30 a.m., the Johnson County District Attorney's Office filed a complaint against Dave Merritt, the Chiefs defensive backs coach, accusing him of unlawfully, knowingly, or recklessly causing bodily harm to a daughter, which constitutes a domestic violence offense according to court documents. So the Chiefs defensive backs coach has been arrested for potentially causing bodily harm to his daughter. That is the allegations in the police report. Just wanted to make everybody aware of that because it could potentially impact the draft for tonight. We don't have any more information. No reason for us to give any further comment on it, but wanted to pass that along because he's a huge part of the Chiefs' defensive plans, and I will be curious to see, just from a football perspective, Alex, obviously this is not a comment on the allegations, which are awful. I'll be curious to see what it means for them when it comes to their draft plans this evening and over the course of the weekend. All right, let's go to the stuff that is more fun to talk about, because that's not.
No, that's not fun.
Let's get into some NFL draft superlatives, okay?
Okay.
So I want to ask you guys a few different questions so we can have some thoughts on the table prior to tonight's first round. Be able to hear it all coverage starting tonight at 6 o'clock right here on 101 ESPN.
And tomorrow you get it at 5 o'clock for round 2 because got to get all that in.
That's right. Team most likely tonight to trade into the top 10 is who? Team most likely to trade into the top 10 is who, Alex?
I'll say the Dallas Cowboys. I think Dallas is going to be aggressive to try and get one of those difference makers on the defensive side. I don't know how high they can get. Can they get Caleb Downs? Can they get Arvell Reese? Can they try and be slightly aggressive and get Reuben Bain? If he drops out of the top 10, maybe you stand put. But I think Dallas does.
That was my answer as well. I was thinking Cowboys because they seem to be the only team I've heard with significant buzz around them. You've heard some teams get floated around there, but not a ton getting connected to the top 10. The Cowboys seem to be the one, though, that people are saying, hey, Jerry Jones is trying to get up there, and if it's Reuben Bain or one of the other players that they're trying to target, it makes some sense, and I believe they've got Green Bay's pick as well they can play with, so I see them being the team that's going to get aggressive.
I think it's your Rams.
I
They're
have
just
no feel.
sitting there at 13, waiting for something to happen, and then they're going to pounce.
They got nothing
ready
to pounce with, man.
I think they're going to find a way with a 2027 first-round pick or 2027 second-round pick.
I didn't even know they had a 2027 first-round pick.
They're going to say bleep them picks again. This is an all-in season, man. You have no idea if Matt Stafford's coming back next year or not. We have no idea what the future looks like for Puka Nacua with the LA Rams. Go for it. Go get a dude in the top 10 of this year's draft. I don't know if that's an edge rusher. I don't know if that's a receiver. I don't know if that's Jeremiah Love. I don't know who they're doing it for, but I think they move up and try to get one of what they believe to be, T-Bone, the elite talents in this year's NFL draft.
I like the thought process because it would be very Ramsey to try and make that move. I just don't know who would be their targeting because, I think they want receiver, but I think they're okay of staying put at 13, thinking they could end up with Lemon from USC. So that's why I hesitate to say them. But I like the thought process because you're right; it's an all-in year. You might as well just say bleep them picks, and if there's someone you really like, whether it's an edge or maybe they think they can get up and go get Carnell Tate, I think you do it if you're the Rams.
All right, team most likely in the top 10 to trade down. Who do you think it is? Doesn't mean out of the top 10, but in the top 10 currently that will trade down by the end of it.
I say Arizona. I don't think they're taking Jeremiah Love at 3. I think they're going to move down in this draft. I don't know how far, but I don't think they're going to take Jeremiah Love. I think somebody like maybe the Rams move up, maybe your Chiefs move up, Cleveland, somebody's going to take Jeremiah Love at 3, not Arizona.
I've got Cleveland moving down. That's my team.
They're the ones that are screaming from the mountaintop. So someone please come and get this pick. I think Arizona's going to take Love. I really do. I think they're going to stay put. I think they're going to say, you know what? He's the best available player. Everybody's trying to get our pick at 75% because it's not an elite draft class. We'll just settle for him. Cleveland screams the one that's we need more assets.
So this is our next question. Team most likely to select Jeremiah Love, the running back out of Notre Dame. I feel like there's been so much smoke on him to like 5 different teams inside of the top 9. Who do you guys think is the most likely team by the end of the night to have Jeremiah Love on their roster?
I think the Giants. I think the Giants draft Jeremiah Love. We talked about that before, and I wasn't sold on it, but I'm more sold on it now. I don't think the Titans will take them because I think they're going to want defense with Robert Saleh there. So I think Jeremiah Love is a Giant at number 5.
We're on the same page. I think it's the Giants as well. That's the one that I told you on previously. Yeah. And I think they do it. I think there's a lot of smoke out there of them going with Caleb Downs. There's some smoke about the potential for Jordan Tyson, offensive tackle. I think it's all a smokescreen. I think they want Jeremiah Love to fall. I think the Arizona Cardinals will end up either trading down or going with one of the edge rushers when all is said and done. I think the Titans are going to end up taking Sonny Styles potentially. So I've got the Giants with Jeremiah Love.
I think it's Cardinals. I don't think it's a smokescreen. Now, I don't know who it is that's leaking that they love him. To me, it almost screams an ownership call because they don't have good ownership, which would also tie into them taking him at 3. But my guess today on the Cardinals, I think they're taking him at 3, and then I think they're trading back into the first round to get Ty Simpson.
And that's where I think, too. If they take Jeremiah Love, I think they're trading back to get Ty Simpson.
Team most likely to draft a quarterback not named Fernando Mendoza tonight.
I might be a Cardinals fan as much as I bring them up.
You should, man.
It's the Cardinals and Ty Simpson.
Yep.
I think they love. I don't know if they love him, but I think they realize.
Well, they'll love him after they draft Jeremiah.
Yeah, I think they know. Okay, we need to draft a quarterback. We're going to have Love. We've got decent receivers. Maybe if Simpson's better than we expect, that we can end up being a more competitive team than we're expecting. And if you're going to draft Ty Simpson, you might as well trade him to the first round so you get that 5th-year option. So I think it's Arizona getting him.
That's mine, too. I think the other one that I would wonder is Cleveland, but I think they're already a mess, so they're going to try and take the best players available. I think Arizona gets Ty Simpson.
I'm going to go Philly. I don't know what
Jalen
they're up to,
Hurts
man.
rumors.
If you're trading A.J. Brown and you haven't really done a ton to improve the roster this offseason, a lot of stuff about Jalen Hurts, what's coming. They've done this previously with Jalen Hurts when they had Carson Wentz already on the roster. It's an all-in season for Jalen Hurts. Maybe this is where they get aggressive and they move down and end up taking a guy like Ty Simpson.
I like the thought process, but I would say this. If you truly view this as a kind of all-in last gasp year with Jalen Hurts and the Eagles, the last thing you should do is draft Ty Simpson. And the reason I say that is because you automatically just queued up the quarterback controversy.
Wouldn't you say you also shouldn't trade A.J. Brown?
I agree with that. I mean, I think that's fair.
But the reason that I mention that is because I think they might have already made their decision on Jalen Hurts. And maybe this is a last gasp year for him where maybe he goes out there, balls out, is amazing, has an MVP caliber year, and like, okay, we'll go ahead and stick with you. It's all good. But otherwise, they're probably already deciding we're going to move on after this season from Jalen Hurts.
Yeah, I guess that's fair. I would just think, though, even if you do trade A.J. Brown, I still don't know that I would want to trade back into the first round, get Ty Simpson. And then even if you do believe, hey, odds are we are going to move on from him, I don't know that I want to queue up the controversy right away in a year that does feel like they are on the fringe of going towards we need to retool this roster.
If there's any team that runs toward controversy instead of away from it,
That's
though, it's them.
Yeah, that's fair.
First wide receiver off the board. Who do you guys think it is? A lot of buzz about Carnell Tate from Ohio State. Jordan Tyson has been getting a lot of buzz lately as a top 10 pick. Mekhi Lemon, I know that's the guy that T-Bone really loves. Who do you think is the first wide receiver off of the board in this year's draft?
I think it's either Tyson or Tate because I think the team that's taking a wide receiver is Washington. And my gut tells me Tyson. I don't know why, but I think I've seen his name a lot more in the recent mock drafts that have come out. But I think that's where that first wide receiver goes is the Commanders. So I'll say Tyson.
I think Tyson has more special traits. He also has bigger injury questions.
Is he bigger too?
A little bit.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I actually think it's Tate. And the reason I say that is I think that a lot of the buzz recently from Tyson means this is probably a tie for some of these teams like the Commanders, the Saints, depending on who you think is going to get the receiver first. And my gut tells me they're going to go to wide receiver factory Ohio State as the tiebreaker. So I think it's going to be Cardell Tate. I think Tyson's going to be the second off the board, and then Lemon will be third.
I am with you. I've got Tate as the first wide receiver taken. I think Tyson, the buzz has almost become too big.
Too good to be true?
Yeah, the week before the draft, I'm always skeptical of the stuff that happens right now.
Someone's trying to draw up trade interest in the top 10.
Or we actually really want Tate, so let's drum up interest for Tyson. Make people think we're going that direction. We're actually going the other. I can see something like that. Speaking of Tate, who is a potential top 10 selection from the Ohio State University, how many players from Ohio State will go in the first 10 picks tonight? Top 10 picks. There's Arvell Reese, Caleb Downs, Sonny Styles, Carnell Tate. Those are the top 4 guys that are most likely to go in the top 10. How many of them will actually go in the top 10 tonight, Alex?
I say all 4. I say all 4 will go in the top 10. I think you said Arvell Reese. I think he's going to probably go either 2 or 3. Won't get past 4. And then you're talking Carnell Tate in the top 10. Yeah, I'll say 4.
I think 4 as well, but it feels almost too good to be true. Like, Styles is the one that I'm having a tough time with. I don't know if someone's drafting a linebacker in the top 10, but in this draft, I could see where someone like the Giants, who's got that 10th overall pick, says, you know what? I don't know what they do at 5. Maybe they take the safety from Ohio State, and they say, you know what? We'll just double down, right? We'll just take both guys that are studs on the defensive side of the ball. I think all 4 go in top 10.
I've got 3. I don't know who falls, but I think Reese is a guaranteed top 10 pick. I think he goes top 5, guaranteed. Between Downs, Styles, and Tate, there are just enough questions about each of them that I think one of them falls out of the top 10. Styles because of the position, Downs because of the position, and Tate because of the lack of perceived upside for him. I think in an ideal world, he's probably a really good number 2 receiver for you. Like an overqualified number 2, in the way that, God, why am I blanking on his name right now? The Eagles' number 2 wide receiver.
Devontae Smith.
Devontae Smith. I think he's got that kind of upside where he can be a really good number 2. Or Jalen Waddle, who's a really good number 2. But in an ideal world, he's probably never your number 1. I think that's Tate, and I think there might be some questions about taking that in the top 10. Although this year, there's just not a lot of legit top 10 selections. Last thing here. How many Mizzou or Illinois players will be selected in the first round? There's really only 2 that are likely. Gabe Akis.
I don't think he's going around.
And Zion Young. How many of them will be selected?
I'll say 0. Zion Young is the only one I think that goes, but it's going to be one of those last picks in the first round. And I just think he falls into the second round. I think he's probably one of the first guys taken on the second day.
I'm going to say 1. I think Zion Young's going to catch the back half of the draft. I'm thinking somewhere like the 27 to 32 range, 28, 32, somewhere in there. I do think he's going to go round 1. I think someone's going to say, you know what, we want to jump ahead of this. A lot of teams are probably thinking round 2, and we'll trade back into the first round and get them.
I think 1 as well. That's my guess, is one of them goes. I'm not actually sure which one it'll be. Because
I would actually be shocked if August gets drafted day 1.
I don't know, man. I think he's a top 50 player. He is so strong. And there are teams that just, with the way that the league is trending now, with the run game being so important, he's so good against the run. Late first round, maybe a team like Seattle says, you know what, this guy, he can just play as a base defensive end for us. He can replace the guy that we lost in the offseason who got $20 million a year from Cincinnati. Boye Mafe left. We'll go ahead and replace him with Gabe Akis. I don't know if that'll happen, but I think one of those 2 will go in the first round this year. Those are our NFL draft superlatives. We'll see how many of those we were right on tomorrow whenever we have our draft coverage here on BK and Ferrario. You'll hear the first round coverage right here starting at 6 o'clock on 101 ESPN. Coming up next, Cardinals are about to enter a huge stretch that could really test their pitching. Are they going to be able to overcome it? We'll talk about it next here on 101 ESPN.
Tanner Hendrickson here with the Sports Center update brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling. Cardinals fell to the Marlins yesterday 4-1 as they dropped 2 of 3 in Miami. They are off today as they return home tomorrow night, host the Seattle Mariners for a 3-game set. 7:15 will be first pitch. George Kirby will be on the mound for Seattle. Andre Palante will get the start for St. Louis. And tonight here on 101 ESPN, round 1 of the NFL Draft will have coverage starting at 6 o'clock. The Sports Center update was brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling, a Daikin heating and air conditioning dealer.
With Alex and T1 on BK, the Cardinals are about to begin a really important stretch for them. 17 games in 17 days. That is at least in part why they went with a getaway day lineup yesterday. Ollie had full thoughts on that over in the St. Louis Post-Dispatch earlier today. You can read Derek Gould's comments, or Derek Gould's story, rather, on the getaway day lineup right now at stltoday.com. It's worth your time if you were somebody that was frustrated by that lineup. We don't share in that frustration. We talked about it a bit yesterday, so I'd rather look forward than back.
Yeah,
so
you're not going to get that here, ladies and gentlemen.
17 games in 17 days. Alex, it's going to be a real test for the pitching staff. The expectation is you will get a 6-man rotation sooner rather than later. My guess is you'll probably see Hunter Dobbins start tomorrow for Memphis. That's my guess. That would be on the typical 4 or 5 days rest for him. You could either see it tomorrow or Saturday. And then I would assume he probably makes his next start at the big league level for the Cardinals. So at some point late next week, you'll probably see the debut in a Cardinals uniform for Hunter Dobbins. What that means is you'll have to send down one of your current bullpen arms to make room for him in your rotation. And that means you have fewer arms to go through at the major league level in the bullpen. How are you guys feeling heading into this stretch? Forget the offense for a second from a pitching perspective. How the Cardinals will be able to hold up in this 17 games and 17-day stretch?
Not good. I think this is what ultimately kills the season for the Cardinals. And I shouldn't say kills the season, but maybe the hope for people that thought maybe this season could be better than what it originally was. Because to me, your pitching, and T-Bone's going to love this, is just lacked the ability to provide the protection for your bullpen on a consistent basis to where, like, yeah, they're giving you 5 innings, but every single game you're relying on high leverage situations for every arm that comes out of that bullpen. And I don't think your arms in the starting rotation are going to be able to get you to the 5th inning as much coming up. Like, they might have to push through and the game's already out of hand. But when you talk about Seattle, when you talk about Pittsburgh, although that one's going to be more on the offense than the pitching, but then with LA, Milwaukee, San Diego, man, that's 17 consecutive games without any time off, which means you're going to have to find ways to navigate that bullpen without fatigue. And I think fatigue is going to hit in pretty quick because your pitching rotation's not going to be able to hold up. And I think things are going to start getting blown up pretty quickly.
Yeah, I don't see this going particularly well for the pitching staff. I mean, you look at this stretch that's coming up for them. The pitching staff as a whole hasn't been very good. They're bottom 10 in most metrics, but they're going against teams that have a .579 win percentage combined during the 17-game stretch. You're going up against some pretty solid offenses as well. I know the numbers aren't there for the Mariners. That's a good lineup. Even without Brendan Donovan, that's still a pretty good lineup that they've got. The Pirates lineup is a little bit more feisty this year than it has been in years past. On top of that, by the way, the Dodgers come to town, who are pretty good. San Diego you go to on this stretch as well. Like, I don't see this going well. And now that you're plucking out a bullpen arm so you can go to 6 starters because you want to keep these guys healthy, now you put more pressure on these guys to where they have to start going deeper into games, right? So rather than if Leahy is at 80 pitches and he's been really struggling through 5 innings, now it gets a little bit harder to just say, oh, yeah, we'll pull him because we've got another extra arm there in the bullpen. You almost have to kind of force him through another time through, or at least another inning through. And I just don't know that this rotation's capable of that. And I think that's where things get off the rails.
So here's the other thing. I'm going to be curious to see how they go about their roster construction during this stretch. So you're going to have Hunter Dobbins come up. We know that. You probably send... Who would you guys guess goes down during this stretch? Fernandez?
Probably.
So he goes down. Here are your other pitchers that could come up at some point that are already on the 40-man roster. And I'm talking about for that roster churn in the bullpen, which you'll probably see. Because Graceffo can go back down, and at some point, if you want to, you can send Matt Swanson down. Those are your other guys that have flexibility with options. Tink Hence?
No.
Ooh, that will get ugly.
Cooper Jerpy, who's still hurt. Bryson Motts, he's a starter. TK Roby, hurt. Chris Roycroft. Your only bullpen arm currently on the 40-man roster that is in the minor leagues that can be called up at some point in this stretch is Chris Roycroft. You do have, I believe, if the 40-man roster online is to be trusted, 39 players currently on the roster.
I was gonna say, because a lot of those guys are on IL, right?
So, well, yeah, but not 60-day.
Oh.
Yeah.
So that doesn't open up a 40-man
How do they not have Roby on 60-day?
Because you have
they
to
don't
have him on
wanna
the
pay
major league roster, and then he would accrue a season this
We're
year.
cheap.
Gotcha.
Well, it's not only that. He would also get a season. So you would use one of his option years. You would, because you'd have to have him on the major league roster. So, yes, he does get that money, T-Bone. That's part of it. But also then he accrues major league time. So you lose a season of control for him, which is a big deal as well. So that's something to keep in mind. But either way, regardless of how you feel about them, like adding him to the 40-man or adding him to the 60-day IL, this is what they've got. So you're looking at Scott Blewett, maybe, who could come up to the big league level. You could have, I personally like the idea at some point. I don't know if he's ready yet, but Luis Gastelum, who has that crazy Bugs Bunny changeup that could potentially help you. That's kind of it.
The other thing that gets tough too, and I don't know what point he'll be here because he's already in his rehab. They got to put Pushard back on the active roster, or Pushard, excuse me. He's got to get put back on the active roster because he was a Rule 5 pick. And he's on the IL, and he's in the midst of his rehab. So he's getting close to being back up
So that might
here.
be one of the guys that ends up coming up.
He probably comes up, but then at that point, you probably have to send down 2 because you got to have Dobbins come up as well. So you're replacing Fernandez and I guess
Swanson probably
would be my guess. But he's been pitching better over his last 2 outings.
Or you say, you know what, it's not going to work with Bouchard.
Yeah, I don't know if they would go that route. They could. I don't know what they would do.
The path of least resistance is Swanson, who's been bad. You go down to AAA.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. It'll be interesting, but that's another thing that's here as well. Is they're going to have
Brule is
to bring
another
him.
option.
I'm cool with that one. We can DFA that experiment. I'm all in favor of that. But yeah, I mean that they don't have a ton of options, and I like the idea of Gastelum, as you mentioned, because of that changeup, and we'll see how he translates to the big leagues. But I don't know that they're going to have an easy time of just running that Memphis shuttle for this 17-game stretch.
It's one of the first tests for Chaim Bloom in season, because so far it's been hey, we got our roster, 26-man. That's what we're going with to start out the season. There's been a couple of moves here or there, but for the most part, it's kind of these are our guys, and we'll make our moves whenever we get to the 17 days, 17 games. Well, now we're here, so now we get to see how he operates once he is in this mode of, all right, I've got to provide the arms that are necessary. We've got to get that churn going for our major league roster. I'm really curious to see what they decide to do here. I don't feel good about it going in, just like Seattle, Pittsburgh, LA, Milwaukee, San Diego. The pitching that we just talked about there, it doesn't look good, but the team also didn't look good coming into the season, and they've been able to mostly stay on track so far. So I'll be curious to see how they navigate it. Scale of 1 to 10, what's your confidence level entering this 17-day stretch, Alex?
1.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I mean, I don't know how you. I don't know.
Wow.
I don't know how you have any confidence going into this stretch.
Okay, damn.
I mean, look
They're 14 and 10.
Yeah, look at these teams.
I know you had to get new tires, but damn.
Yeah, that was
What a morning for you.
One feels aggressive.
Yeah.
I mean, show me a little more optimism than
I'm
what.
at like a 4,
yeah, I
a
was
3
thinking
or
like
4.
3 or 4,
You're in
yeah.
a playoff spot as of today. You're not awful.
Okay, you guys live in that la-la land and come talk to
I
me
don't
at
think
the
that's
end of the
living in a
17
la la
game.
land. I think la la land would be saying anything above a 5. I think 3 or 4 seems realistic
Well, I'm
or
glad
fair.
you guys have a little bit more confidence in this team than I do.
You feel like a guy screaming they're going like 4 and 13 in this stretch.
They'd be
man.
lucky to win a series in this stretch.
Oh, come on.
It's baseball, dude.
Yeah.
The Dodgers lost a series to the Angels last year.
Okay. Well, we'll
I like
write
how you
that down
threw
in your
the Angels
little
under the
notebook,
bus.
Steve, and we'll have the conversation at the end of the 17-game stretch.
Jump Jordan next here on 101 ESPN. All right, let's dive into the junk drawer. T-Bone, what do you got for us today?
Guys, I'm getting towards the end of the play-by-play season, the stuff I do on the side, and I was thinking, you know what, when that's done, I think I want to take a day or two off during the weekday, just have a 4-day weekend. And I was thinking, I kind of want to go somewhere. It'd be like a solo trip, but I don't know where to go. So I need some ideas.
Are you talking about a road trip?
Yeah,
You're
like
flying?
a road trip.
What's the plan here?
Maybe fly somewhere, or if it's just somewhere
Those
close.
are two very different things. Are you planning to fly or drive?
Yeah,
I'm open to either way,
Okay.
right?
You
Like
should
I
go to
haven't
only
decided.
Illinois. I've heard it's beautiful this time of the year.
Yeah, well,
What
I
are
thought
some
about
things
that.
you like to do? Like when I travel, I go to
can't talk about that on the
breweries. Okay.
Oh, hold on.
Amsterdam.
I like going to breweries.
What, man? He can go. He said fly. Oh, you don't look like you want to go to Amsterdam? I've heard it's beautiful in the springtime.
I have heard great things about Amsterdam. One of my buddies went there. He said
I
it's
don't know
great.
why you're looking at me with that ugly
food.
face.
I was thinking breweries, go to like ballpark, just kind of go around the city and explore it a little bit.
sounds awful to
Hiking
me.
as well. I don't mind going
sounds
hiking.
awful
You been to
to me.
Pittsburgh?
I've been to Pittsburgh
Okay.
Once before, which I wouldn't mind doing again, but like I've already been to PNC. But those are just kind of some thoughts.
Vermont is great. Highly recommend.
I've heard.
In all seriousness, Vermont's wonderful, and if you like hiking and breweries, it's a really good spot. Tennessee is wonderful.
I thought about doing something to the Smokies.
Asheville would be great. It's a little tougher to get to, though, and it's a very long drive. But Asheville is a wonderful spot.
Could you do a trip by yourself?
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
don't think I could.
Well, that's the other thing. Like
I think
I
I'd go
have this in
bored.
my
I think I'd
mind,
get
and I think
bored.
I want to do it, but I also fear that I would get bored.
I think I'd
and
get bored.
I don't know how much I would truly enjoy it by myself. I just want to go
think
somewhere.
You would love it, Alex.
I like doing
Are
certain...
you uncomfortable going to a brewery by yourself? Or
No.
I guess you're not really much of a beer guy. But
But I was going to say, like, I like doing certain things by myself. Like, I'll go to the movies by myself every once in a while. Like, I literally do not mind going to dinner by myself if I have to. But that's like a 2-hour thing. This is like a 4-day trip. Like, I think I would get bored after 4 days by myself.
I think going hiking, though, like you could make a legit morning out of that. That's half of a day for you. And then you go to a brewery, potentially go to a few different breweries. You find a place that has, like Denver would be a really good spot for you. You could go hiking up in the mountains, and then they've got an area right next to the ballpark where they've got a ton of
That's a cool
breweries
downtown
within
area. I
that
didn't get to
little
explore it
community.
much.
You could literally walk to all of those areas, and then you could walk over to the ballpark for the game that night, and boom, there's a full day for you. That's one of your days out there, and then maybe another day you take an Uber out to the mountains. You just spend a day in the mountains, hang out, doing whatever. You go fishing or something. I think you could, and then maybe one day you go to like a distillery. You can go to a different mountain town. Like Golden has some really cool stuff. You could find yourself just walking around in town.
Hey, man, I say more power to you. I don't think I could do
I've just been
that.
trying to think of something like where would be a place that I could go and entertain myself for 3 days.
Disney
I want to
World?
get away. No.
By yourself?
No.
For you, if you like
Not the
hiking,
happiest
I
day
would
on
try
earth.
to find an
Or happiest
area
place on
that
earth.
has some kind of a like mountain or
Yeah.
like that terrain that you could
And
really.
I thought about like
get
going
yourself
to
lost
a beach, but I was like, that one I don't know if I would want to go to by myself. Hiking would
Beach,
be more.
I think Alex is right on the beach thing. That's more of a like couples or friends retreat.
Yeah, you look like a weirdo going to a beach by yourself.
I think you could do it. I think you'd get bored though. There just probably
That's
wouldn't
the
be
thing,
enough to keep you occupied.
I think you look like a freak if you're at a beach by yourself.
See, I don't have an issue.
Yeah, I
like
don't
you
know,
could
if you're
do
by
it.
yourself. The thing
But
would
for
be like
4
what he's
days, I think
saying,
it'd get old.
Exactly. But I was just trying to think of like somewhere to go, but I can't find somewhere that I'm like really interested in. So I know what's probably going to happen is I'll get
Smoky
too
Mountains
close
have a
to
lot,
it.
Alex. I know you like the Smoky Mountains area. You could go over to Knoxville, and then you maybe go over to Asheville. You could like split up the trip. You could do a couple of days in one area, a couple of days in another. Denver's great. I like Pittsburgh a lot, but if
Would
you've already
Louisville
been
have
there,
enough to entertain for maybe not 4 days, but 3?
if you're willing to go to the distilleries, absolutely,
Let's say a little.
because they've got some really
Bourbon
cool distillery tours that you could do. You could go to Bardstown for a day or two, and then you could stay up in Louisville as well.
Yeah.
But doing all of this gets expensive quickly too. That's the other thing.
Yeah.
Because the distilleries can get pretty pricey if you're also trying to do any
All right.
tastings while you're there.
Just stay
I'm
home.
going
and
back to the
just-
White Squirrels.
Just stay home and drink. And you go hiking.
If it was warmer, if it would warm up, I would just go maybe on the lake back home, But
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to be warm enough to be out on the water.
When?
About mid-May,
Oh,
You'll be warm by
then.
then.
hopefully.
Yeah, you're already in that stage now where it's consistently
It will be
70
hot
to
out. Let me
80s.
rephrase that. It will be hot outside potentially by mid-May. I don't know how warm that water will be. 'Cause there's nothing worse than being cold while you're.
Some people
sitting
saying
in the
Table Rock. You could go do Table Rock plus or Alex's favorite, Branson.
Oh, yeah.
And I mean, you don't even have to do Branson. They
I
got
never
like top
have
of the
been to
rock stuff.
Branson, but I've not heard great things from Ferrario.
Yeah, no, I don't get me wrong. I love Branson. It's just people think Branson is like the white trash vacation spot, which, I mean, you can call it whatever you want. It's fun. It's out in the country. They've got stuff you could do with family and friends.
Branson's great as long as you know what you're getting into.
And if you go to like Table Rock and like Top of the Rock, man, they've got golf cart tours on Top of the Rock where you could get like restaurants and drinks at the top of it. And I mean, I know you don't
Table
like
Rock's
golf.
beautiful.
Oh,
It's
it's
one
much
place I
better than
wanna
Lake of
go.
the
I've never
Ozarks.
been.
Much better than Lake of the Ozarks. So that would be the spot that I would say. But again, like if you can do it, awesome, because there's hiking, there's everything. I just feel like I'd get bored after 4 days.
From Young Hung Big Al.
What
BK,
the
how
hell?
are you not fat? Because I run. That's it. That's
Jeez.
the only reason.
That
And I,
name
generally
with that
speaking,
sentence.
eat pretty healthy. But when I go on trips, like I'm going to Denver in a month now, we're going to do a lot of eating while we're there. We're going to do a lot of breweries while we're there. We like doing that kind of stuff while we're on vacations. Or when we go out to New York in June, like a lot of it is going to be based upon eating and drinking. That's the vast majority of the trip.
I think I've convinced myself. You should go to Table Rock and do Branson.
New York would also be cool.
Wanna go with me?
You could,
Yeah.
you could do a really cool New York trip solo.
Hey, we go play golf.
That one I feel like would get expensive real quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
Branson
might be-
Table
that
Rock will
one
get
is
expensive.
that one's probably way out my price.
Everything's
Philly,
expensive.
You could do Philly,
I've been to Philly. I don't really want to go back to Philly.
DC.
DC would be.
Done it. I could do it again though. There's
DC
some
would
stuff
be
I
awesome.
haven't seen there.
You
That's
could
the
do
one.
that
That's the one
solo.
spot Katie and I have said that's our next
I was
trip.
at DC for 2 or 3 days for a vacation, a long extended vacation up the East Coast. But there's still more to do. The other thing, I've got family out there. Now I don't know that they would welcome me, but there's family out there.
Coming up in 15 minutes, we'll do Believe It or Not. Joey Vitale joins us for his final segment of the Blues season, so to speak. We'll probably talk to him occasionally in the offseason as well. Joey joins us at 1:30. But next, college sports might have a significant change coming. We'll try to describe it for you next year on 101 ESPN. All right, so there's some big changes that could be coming to college athletics. According to a story which was posted yesterday, I saw it on Sports Illustrated, but it was put out there everywhere. College athletics are looking at a 5-and-5 proposal. What that means is you would have 5 years of eligibility for the 5 years after you graduate high school, with a cap when you turn 24 years old. So once you turn 24, you're no longer eligible for college athletics. So this would get rid of some of like European players that are coming over to play college basketball that are like 25.
Basically Illinois' roster.
I don't think any of their guys were that age, but yeah, that idea, generally speaking.
Kind of.
Or players that are going to play G League and then they get back when they're 24, 25 years old.
I just saw somebody did that again yesterday.
You don't then get 4 years of eligibility once you're coming to collegiate basketball. You would have like 1 year of collegiate eligibility. So that's the idea that they're trying to implement here. Here's the thing. They're thinking about doing this like now, like this offseason, which has significant effects on the current transfer portal. So the National Association of Basketball Coaches just put out a new statement on this potential landscape change. They said the NABC shares the NCAA's urgency to stabilize college sports eligibility, and coaches have expressed general support for an age-based model during initial discussions with the NCAA leaders. However, the rapid shift required diligent implementation, especially given the active recruiting and transfer cycles taking place. Coach perspective is vital to any legislative reform on matters of eligibility that could immediately impact their roster's management, and the NABC views collaboration and communication with coaches as a complete non-negotiable. As the NCAA expedites this review, the NABC urges that all stakeholders be brought to the table, including coaches, to identify potential unintended consequences and to ensure that these generational changes are structured correctly.
All right, I need you to dumb that down for me.
In other words, yo, chill, stop, relax for a minute. Can we talk about what you're about to do?
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah. That makes a lot more sense.
Coaches are basically going to the NCAA and saying, hey, do you realize what you're about to do to the transfer portal? Like, Mark Mitchell might have another year of eligibility in college basketball.
Hell yeah.
If that happens, it will completely throw everything out of whack to the point where, all right, so hold on. We have hundreds of kids that were otherwise going to be pushed off to either like professional basketball overseas or NBA basketball. Like, what does this mean for Robbie Avila?
Welcome back.
God,
is he just back with flu next year?
That's why Josh stayed all along.
Because if it does mean that, it changes everything for the way that these rosters are going to be constructed heading into next year. And if you're not a first-round pick or at least a lottery pick, and even in some instances, if you are a lottery pick, you might make more money by coming back to play college basketball next season. So I don't know what they're going to do here. It sounds like the toothpaste may already be out of the tube, in which case,
you could put it back in.
But the other problem is they're terrified of the lawsuits. So if they do implement this, I don't know, next year, well, then are people going to sue to get that extra year of eligibility?
Yes.
Are they going to win those lawsuits?
We're already seeing guys sue to get their extra year of eligibility.
Could you implement this now and say, hey, we're not going to implement this for 5 years, and then 5 years from now, it will start with those kids that were not already in college as this policy would have affected them? Can that happen? Like, when can this start to where it would actually be able to be executed properly? I don't know.
I think that's your best bet, is to pick a year down the road that doesn't affect anything right now in college basketball. And if you state it today, then obviously there's that planning that goes into it. I like the idea of it, but it just adds an entire level of murkiness that the NCAA is already involved in. They've already got lawsuits of suing for extra years of eligibility. They've already got people that are calling their lawyers left and right. It already is the Wild West, and you're just adding on to it with more gun, showdowns and things and whatnot. So I love the idea. I think your best bet is what you said. You got to plan like 5 years from now. It will be implemented in 2031. So everybody in college sports knows that this is coming, and when it hits, this is how we go about it.
I just don't know that there's a clean way to implement it, which is why I just say, you know what, let that toothpaste out, and it's going to suck for 5 years, 4 years, however long it might be. And then it hopefully means it meant greener grass was on the other side once we get past that 5-year window. Because I agree, I kind of like the idea of kind of trying to grandfather it in, right? Where you say 5 years, 2031, at this time is when this rule becomes eligible. I just think there's going to be so many lawsuits that can kind of hold that up to where it is. Now, wait a minute. I'm a junior, and you're telling me that I can't get this even though in 5 years a freshman's going to be able to have that, right? Like, that doesn't seem fair. And I know people would say, well, that's what happened with NIL. Yeah, but it wasn't so to where, like, if I was a senior, I couldn't make NIL money because that got grandfathered in, right? So I don't think there's an easy way to implement this. I don't know that you can grandfather it in, even though it sounds like a good plan. I think you just have to almost just throw this out there, say, you know what, this sucks. It's going to be awful for 5 years. Truly, the Wild Wild West is here. That's already been here. We might as well just do it. And hopefully this means this will clean things up as this process starts to play out as it goes along.
It's kind of like the COVID year all over again.
Yeah.
Because the COVID year threw everything into flux where everybody was just granted an extra year of eligibility. I never thought that should have been the case either. I thought if you're a senior in COVID that season, you get an extra year. But anybody else, no. Like, you played college football this year, and you still get your 5 to play 4 kind of thing. But they didn't go about it that way, so it is what it is. Down to Doug St. Louis says, you just don't make it retroactive. Also, the NCAA has no idea how to untwist this mess. Exactly. They don't know what to do here, and the problem with not making it retroactive, as we said, is somebody's going to sue to the point where it is retroactive. There is almost no way to avoid it. I wish that was the case. If anybody had any sense, they would just do a collective bargaining, and then you could do that. But why would the players agree to it?
Exactly.
They have no incentive to collectively bargain because they right now have all of the power, and they're not about to give that up. The other thing, T-Bone, as you were talking, I was like, oh, well, the timing is the problem. You just don't do it right now. You do it once you get to the college basketball season, and then you implement it for the next season. But as we saw this year, that doesn't matter either, because then guys that are in the G League will just say, screw the G League. I'm going to go back and play college basketball midway through the season. So that doesn't work.
During a media timeout in Mizzou, the lights are going to go off, and all of a sudden the lights shine down. And, oh, my God, it's Mark Mitchell coming out of the locker room.
Suddenly,
I love that.
They've got Robbie coming over from Turkey. He's now playing for Josh Schertz once again. Is that Dr. Shafitz walking in with him?
Whoa!
Theatrics, and that's what the game needs right now. We need more theater.
We are an entertainment product.
Amen.
Believe it or not, next.
Believe it or not, I'm walking on air. I never thought I could feel so
free, flying away on a wing and a prayer. Who could it be?
Believe it or not, it's just me.
Oh, that was a good one. 314-399-9646. That is the Air Comfort Service text line for Believe It or Not. You guys give us a scenario. We will tell you if we are believing it or not here on 101 ESPN. Guys, believe it or not, there will be multiple NFL veterans tonight traded for a first-round pick.
Ooh.
No A.J. Brown's on the
Yeah.
move.
How do we get that? I forget. I'm
saying not. Yeah. I'm not buying the smoke around the Brian Thomas news. Okay. And he's really the only one that I can think of that would be on the move.
Jonathan Grenard, defensive end out of the Minnesota Vikings.
Pretty Ricky
28 years old. He had 12 sacks in 2023, 12 sacks in 2024, had a down year this past season, but is a good edge rusher. Wants a new contract. The Vikings are in cap hell. Sounds as though the Eagles are potentially interested in him.
Well, that makes sense. I'm still saying not. I think it's only one that happens. That's potentially A.J. Brown.
Yep, that's where I'm at as well.
A.J. Brown, by the way, that'll be a 2027 pick because he'll be a post-June 1st trade most likely. So that will not. It's very unlikely that trade happens tonight. That would be something that happens further into the offseason.
But I'm really not.
Okay. I'll say not, but I think we will see multiple veterans traded within the next 2 days. I don't think it happens tonight, but I think we see one tonight and then maybe one or two tomorrow as well. Alex, what do you have for us?
Guys, believe it or not, over the next 7 games, the Cardinals win 3 or fewer.
I'll say I believe that. 3 or fewer in the next 7.
They can get 3.
So they can go 3 and 4. Yeah, I'll say that.
I would say believe it as well because, they'll probably drop 2 or 3 at home to Seattle. And then I think they can earn a split in Pittsburgh. So, yeah.
That's more than 3. That's more than 3, though.
No, that's at 3.
No, didn't you say take 2 of 3 from Seattle?
No, lose 2 of 3.
Lose 2 of 3. Okay.
He doesn't listen to the show.
I know.
No, I literally heard what he said. I just, lose versus take.
T-Bone.
Guys, believe it or not, the Cardinals will not be the team that finishes in last place in the NL Central.
I'll believe it. I think they finish in 4th.
Who you betting on in last?
Somebody else.
I'll say not believe this. I'll say they finish last.
Yeah, I think not believe it as well.
One of the other teams?
I think it's a race between them and the Reds for last. And I know that sounds weird because they're like the top 2 right now. I'm not buying what the Reds are selling. I think the Brewers are going to be better. I think the Cubs are playing better. And then I still like the Pirates as a team that's going to be in this race for the whole year.
All right, here we go. 314-399-9646 is the Air Comfort Service text line. Let's get to these from the text line. Believe it or not, Jordan Walker will have at least 200 strikeouts this year.
What's he at right now?
I don't think there's been a hitter to have 200. When was the last hitter to do that?
There's been.
I don't know about for the Cardinals, but there have been. He's on pace right now for 210.
Damn. Yeah, I'll believe it. He's starting to swing and miss.
I'll say not believe it. That's a lot.
Yeah, actually, no, I'm not going to believe it.
No, you said it. No takesies, backsies.
No, I'm taking back. I'll say not believe it. He's struggling right now and missing a lot more. My hope is he can get back a little bit towards what he was in the beginning of the year, and that would cut down the strikeouts.
We've seen 10 hitters in the last 5 years strike out at least 200 times in a season.
Chris Davis, one of them?
In the last 5 years. James Wood, Ellie De La Cruz, Kyle Schwarber, Eugenio Suarez, Joey Gallo, Teoscar Hernandez, Matt Chapman, Riley Green, Schwarber again, and Ezekiel Tovar. Those are the players that have done this over the last 5 years. I'll say believe it. I do think he ends up with at least 200 strikeouts, but that doesn't inherently make it a bad season. A lot of those players that I just mentioned are really good baseball players.
Chapman did that.
314-399-9646. That is the Air Comfort Service text line for Believe It or Not. Believe it or not, both Illinois and Mizzou will be in the top 10 in the preseason rankings in college basketball this year. I'll say not. I think Illinois will be. I think Mizzou will be in the top 25, but not the top 10.
Yeah, not believe it. I don't think Mizzou, even with a great class, earns to be in the top 10.
Yeah, I'm not believing. I think Illinois will be top 5. I think Mizzou's anywhere between like 15 to 25.
From the 314, believe it or not, Vrabel will be the next NFL head coach fired. I don't think he's getting fired.
Yeah.
I don't think he's. Why would the Patriots fire the guy over this? That'd be dumb.
Yeah. I'd say not believe it. He's not going to be the next coach that ends up getting fired because of this. It would take them going through like 2 years of underperforming for that to happen.
From the 314, believe it or not, you guys will be held accountable for saying that we go 3-4 in the next 7 and will not be allowed to believe when we go over 500 in the next 7. And BK, you just said we're going to finish 4th in the division. I have the date marked. You are never allowed to hop back on the bandwagon.
Okay, tough guy.
I'd say, like, how are we held responsible?
Hold us responsible.
Believe it or not, the Fast Lane was wrong yesterday when they stated that pancakes are better than waffles.
Absolutely wrong. Waffles are the GOAT.
No, they're right.
No.
Pancakes are so
can't
much
have
better.
the warm maple syrup held into the little pockets of the
You
waffle.
just cover that bad boy. You don't need it to be held on there.
terrible
And
take.
then as it falls off, you can wipe on your plate. No
waffles
way.
waffles are
Pancakes
so
are
much
so
better.
much better.
Pancakes are disgusting.
From the 314, believe it or not, earlier today on Unsportsmanlike, they said they think the Cowboys will trade up to pick at number 3 overall, and they will take Jeremiah Love. You guys believe in that or not?
Be a good move for them, but
It is quite the Jerry Jones thing to do, but I will say not.
yeah, I'm going to say not to.
It feels almost, as much as I agree it feels Jerry Jones, even that feels too strong for Jerry Jones to pull off. So
They've actually
not
been a
believing
really
it.
good drafting team, by the way.
Yeah.
For all the criticism of them, I think my criticism is more on like free agency and how they handle contracts. As a drafting team, they're very good at this. Go back and look at especially their first round picks. They've had a ton of success in the first round. So, yeah, I'll say not. I do not think they're going to give up that many assets for a running back because that would probably require them to give up 12 and 20 for the number 3 overall selection. That just seems like a lot, in my opinion. All right, alongside Alex and T-Bone, I'm BK. Joey Vitale joins us next here on 101 ESPN.
Alex Ferrario with you to talk about my friends out at Classic Air Care. You've been flipping back and forth to the air conditioning, to the heat. It's this time of the year, it's what happens, and it means your HVAC system is going to be making some weird noises, doing some work that it hasn't had to do in probably 6 months. So it's time to call Classic Air Care and have them come out to take care of your unit. Take care of your home. Take care of your family with Classic Air Care. They've been doing so since 1926. They've been taking care of me since 2016. My dad has been using them since the 90s, and it's because of the incredible service that they provide, the knowledge of the technicians, the incredible customer service, all of that thanks to Classic Air Care. They're offering a $79 AC tune-up right now in the month of April. They also have plumbing and electrical work options that are there for you if you want to check in on that or if you've got some issues in that front. And if you need a new HVAC system, well, you try and get this before the summer wave kicks in and it gets a lot more busy. You can get financing options through Classic Air Care. Call them today, schedule online. Just do me a favor and tell them Alex Ferrario sent you. Classic Air Care and classicaircare.com.
Tanner Hendrickson here with the Sports Center update brought to you by Universal Windows Direct. Cardinals are off today. They'll be back in action tomorrow night as they start a 3-game set at home against the Seattle Mariners. 7:15 will be first pitch tomorrow. George Kirby will be on the mound for Seattle. Andre Palante gets the start for St. Louis. And tonight here on 101 ESPN, we'll have the first round of the NFL Draft for you with coverage starting at 6 o'clock. The Sports Center update was brought to you by Universal Windows Direct. You'll be saying, I love my windows.
Oh, it's one of our favorite times of the week. It's our time to be joined by Joey Vitale, Blues analyst for FanDuel Sports Midwest and 101 ESPN. Appreciate his time, as always, joining us via the Kiley and Thompson hotline. Joe, how you doing today, my friend?
Joey. Well, that's time for Joe.
What's up, boys? What's going on?
We're doing well, man. How are you as you now have like a little bit of time to figure out what it's like to be home?
Just covered in like chicken feathers right now? Is that like what are you wearing overalls as we speak with egg yolk on you?
I might as well, boys. Yeah, Dad. This is the season on. This is the on season for me. People are like, enjoy your time off. This is time on. It's all hands on deck now. But no, it's been great. You know, it's like it's a transitional job, like you know the athletes in any sport. You know, and it's just you just move from one phase to another. You would have hoped for it to go a little bit longer for St. Louis this year, but certainly that's not the way the cards played out for this team. But it's exciting at the same time to see some of the changes that are starting to kind of evolve and take shape here with Alexander Steen at the helm.
Yeah, what do you think this is going to look like over the next couple of months for Steen, Joe? Because Doug essentially said that in the player the exit stuff with the media on Saturday that like Doug's told the players from now on, Steen is your general manager. He said, I'm not making any trades. There's no waiver claims. Like, Steen is the guy moving forward. So it's go time now for Alex Steen.
Yeah, listen, it's there's no time off. You know, and I talked to Alex about this. Let's go back a few months ago. We were talking like, you know, personal stuff. I think we were off the Mun there. I ran into him and his wife. They were going to maybe do a show for a rare night off for him, one of the first ones in all season for him. This is back in December, and I was taking my daughter to dinner off the Mun there as well, and we kind of ran into each other, and we were just talking about, you know, the challenges of a personal life and how you find the balance between, you know, his new job and what it was like different as a player, and he said really the biggest thing is going to be just that, you know, as you transition into the summer as a player, when your season's over, I mean, you pretty much just sit around, you manage yourself the rest of the summer to get ready for camp next year. But there is that unwinding time. There is the downtime. And you're looking at his position now, clearly with two new assistant coaches that need to be hired. There's just no off time. There's no downtime. I mean, maybe subtly a little bit after the draft and after you have the prospects come in, you know, the first couple weeks of July. So maybe you have a little bit of a window between end of July and August. But, you know, look what happened 2 years ago, Alex, where you end up getting Dylan Holloway and Philip Broberg. So there's just really never a time off with this position for him. But as you look into the future, I can tell you one thing, and this is probably the most obvious thing, but the most important thing is you got to find yourself some assistants. You know, for Jim Montgomery, that was it's clearly on their radar. It's the most important thing, I think, right now to do because, you know, you're not close enough to the draft. You're just watching playoff hockey. The guys you have are the guys you have. So the old adage, you know, success happens to those who hustle while they wait. That this is the hustle time for finding the right assistant coaches for Jim Montgomery, whether it be special team specialists. You know, special teams certainly need to improve. I think the big thing that we're going to see for whoever Jim Montgomery, I think he's got a couple guys on the radar. He's probably already been in talks with them as well. The biggest thing I think is you got to find someone who is good at developing. You know, you have such a young group of guys. I mean, even your top guy in Robert Thomas is still, by most standards, young, and he's at the beginning still of his prime. So, and those are your top end guys. So with the Snuggeruds and Dvorskys and then the Stenbergs, and then you got 3 first-round draft picks coming up. One thing is very clear, I think, at the very top of this search has to be a coach that is an established coach as far as developing. And part of that is communicating, right? Is he an empathetic coach? Can he lean into young players that are going through tough times? what's his patient threshold for players as they're looking at a player that's going to have to grow, and sometimes that takes time, right? So I think with all the things that they're looking for, to me at the very top, it has to be that. You have to have a guy that understands growth, that understands player development, understands empathy, patience, all those virtues that you need for young players. Because as you look at this Blues team, guys, I mean, this is what it speaks about. It is a young group. They've taken big steps over the last couple of years, but they are young, and they're going to get younger this summer with this upcoming draft. So to me, that's at the very top of the list for their search.
Joey Vitale joining us here on 101 ESPN. Joe, I don't mean this to say like one is good, the other is bad, but out of curiosity, what do you think will be the biggest differences in the way that Alexander Steen approaches the job compared to what we saw under Doug Armstrong?
Gosh, I think, to be fair, BK, there's advantages, disadvantages. I mean, with Doug, there's years of wisdom, right? I mean, you can't replicate that if you're Alexander Steen. There's only way for you to gain that type of wisdom is just to go through the experience of the year in and year out grind a bit. So for Doug, there's this level of wisdom. But, also I think that for Doug, and this is to be, this is just my opinion and to be, completely in my opinion, really nothing that I've seen or heard of it otherwise, he's not a young buck anymore either, and not to say that he's told me directly that he's tired, but I think this job, it wears on you. And for Doug, who's been doing this a long time, I think it can wear on you. And I think that at times you kind of lose the spark, you lose the fire, you lose the energy to show up each and every day and to kind of do this thing all over again. And I mentioned the word patience earlier. I think for an old-time general manager like Doug, you do get impatient because you want to see something go a certain way and it doesn't, and you kind of lose that patience. So I think that, while you have Doug is this wisdom and all this great knowledge and experience, that's the advantage. I think the disadvantage at times can be, it can wear on a general manager of that age who's been doing it as long. For Alex, where he lacks wisdom probably at times and experiences and trades and mistakes, he makes up for it with just this sheer youthful passion. Like when I see Alex, when I talk to him, you see him around the rink, he loves what he's doing. Like it's in his eyes and it's in his fabric. He's at the front of the plane after our final game, and he's always looking. He's always scanning. He's always trying to find something that can get better, right? And I think that's what's exciting about a general manager of his age and someone who's so raw. I was talking to Daniel Briere, who of course is, I think next to Alex, clearly one of the youngest general managers in the National Hockey League, and he has that same just hunger. There's a desire you just can't replicate when you've been doing it for 15, 20, 30 years. So that's the exciting part for me is he's got, first of all, this youthful just passion and energy. But make no mistake, Alex is very, very smart. Like he is a very smart, not just a hockey mind, he's a smart human. Like he looks at players and he looks beyond the analytics. He looks beyond the ice. He's always watching how players are conducting themselves, how they treat trainers, how they treat each other. You hear words out of him like empathy and kindness and, compatibility and chemistry and endurance, all these things that I think a lot of old-time general managers, you just kind of lose sight of because you're just so sometimes hyper-focused on the game. Alex, in my opinion, he is going to be so good is because he's going to draft good humans. He wants good humans on this team. He wants guys on this team that are going to be playing harder for the guys to the right and left than the guy actually in those skates. And when you have general managers like that really see, that can really kind of think outside the box and think about the game in a more cerebral level of these are the humans that are going to be moving this franchise forward. To me, that's the really exciting part because I just don't know if there's a lot of general managers in the game right now that think about the relationships and how important those relationships are to the overall process of winning.
Joe, final one I wanted to ask you about, you watched this team all season long. You were around these guys nonstop. From the 10,000-foot view, where do you feel like you hope the Blues front office tries to address an area of weakness for this team this offseason?
I got to be just flat out direct. I mean, it's pretty clear for me, Alex. Alex and BK. Yeah, it's the secondary scoring, right? You got to figure out a way to get that back up to where it was. We were a week and a half, 2 weeks away from the end of the season, and we didn't have one player with 20 goals. Not one player with 20 goals. And I don't care if it's, the Utah Mammoth. I mean, I'm looking at Utah Mammoth. They got the Schmaltzes and the Kellers, right? We all know they're going to be there. All of a sudden, Dylan Gunther's got, I think he had close to 40 goals or something around there, like 30, high 30s, low 40s. So he was the guy that kind of propelled that offense forward. I mean, heck, you're looking at what the Anaheim Ducks have become. Look at the offense and the young players at the Ducks now that got their series tied 1-1 in Edmonton. It's not just Leo Carlson and the Kallor. I mean, they had so many young players stepping up, kind of getting over that 20, 30 goal threshold, 3/4 of the way through the season. And even down the stretch of this year, the Blues made a push. They made it interesting, but it was really one line that was driving the offense. Now, that's a great thing because, you got a top line coming into next season, which was one of the best. But, Buchnevich, Kyrou, right? Jake Neighbors, he started off so hot, right? And then his offense just kind of fell off a little bit. And the kid works his tail off, right? All these guys are working hard. Buchnevich, I don't know if there's a guy in the locker room that cares more than Pavel Buchnevich. I mean, he loves this sport. But the numbers are just the numbers, right? And they weren't producing at a level that secondary scoring needs to be produced if you want to find postseason success. So everyone needs to improve. The goaltending in October really set them back. The defensemen not keeping pucks out of net, which didn't lead to them joining the offense. That was an issue. I think Jim Montgomery was the first to admit that he learned a lot as a coach this year. He's going to do a lot of things differently. Everyone, the broadcasters, the color analysts between the benches and myself, I can be better. Everyone can be better, right? We all know that. But I think the biggest thing to address, because you got the goaltenders. I think you got the D now with Logan Mailloux and Lindstein stepping up the way they did. I feel strong about that. It really comes down to what does that second and third line depth scoring look like? Is it, do you move someone out to bring someone in? Is it, maybe a young player is ready to take that leap that you already have in your system? So I don't know what that looks like, but you need more support around that Robert Thomas line. If you can get that scoring up, I think that's going to be the biggest thing to tackle, because defensively and from a goaltender standpoint, I have seen enough over the last few years. I am a huge Joel Hofer fan. This kid is a rock star. He is going to be an all-star, and I feel good about the defensive side, but you got to get that scoring up.
All right, Joe, we'll get you out of here on this. This is the last question that I've got for you. Since it is our final time talking to you prior to the off season, and hopefully we'll catch up with you occasionally as we get into some of the bigger events of the off season. What did you learn about doing the simulcast this year? It was your first year doing this on both the TV and radio side of things. What did you learn about it after doing it for a full season?
Yeah, it's a fair question, BK. I really didn't know what to really look forward to because I had never done it before. We had lots of meetings before the year and, trying to strike that balance of, being there for the TV viewers, but also, trying to accommodate the radio listeners as well. And there's no perfect situation because, if I keep repeating the score and repeating the time, the TV viewers are going to be upset. It's like, why does it keep repeating the score? I can see the score right on the ticker. But then as soon as I talk about a replay, you see on the right part of the screen, then the radio guys are saying that, well, I don't like it because I don't have a screen. What is he talking about? But I need to point it out for the TV. There's really, the lane that I've learned is you can never make everyone satisfied. And you just try to strike the balance and you keep going back to the drawing table. And I continue to go back and listen to games and watch games. I'm going to do it again this summer to try to see if I can kind of strike that balance, because there is probably some other wordings I could be using to make it a little bit more seamless. But at the end of the day, I care a great deal about all our TV viewers. I care a great deal about all my radio listeners. It's where I broke in, cut my teeth into this business. So radio is super important to me. So at the end of the day, it was a growth year. I think there were certain people that loved it, certain people that weren't big fans of it. All I can do is promise that I'm going to continue to make the appropriate steps to make it better for everybody, because that's my job and that's my duty. And I take a lot of pride in the idea of you all out there inviting me into your car, and for people inviting, Chris Kerber and I into their homes. I mean, it's a big deal. We take it very seriously. So that's my vow to them, is just to continue to improve on all the areas about how to make the language a little bit more seamless, of course, for the radio side and the TV side. But I'm looking forward to the summer, kind of smoke settles, going back, listening only, then watching only, and then just making some notes about how to improve and make it better. Because like I said before, Like Jim Montgomery said, he can be better. The players can be better. The general manager, literally from top to bottom, the broadcasters too, everyone can be better. And as long as everyone takes that step, we should be in a better direction.
Well, you've been doing that since 2019 when you started the broadcast career, Joe. So I think you did a great job, man. Congrats on a fun season, and thank you so much for everything that you've done for us on the show and throughout the pre- and post games this season. So enjoy the on season, man, and we'll talk to you once news breaks for this Blues team throughout the year.
Hey, sounds good, boys. Tanner and BK and Alex, you guys are doing an awesome job. Love listening. I'll continue to listen throughout the summer. Whatever you guys need, give me a holler. If you got a 20-minute slot you want filled and you just want to shoot the breeze, you know I'm always game. You got my number, and you guys have a great summer as well. We'll be talking to you soon.
Thanks, Appreciate you. As Joey Vitale joining us as he has each and every Thursday throughout the St. Louis Blues season. We'll certainly be giving him a call occasionally throughout the offseason, but not every week.
Well,
we don't want to put too much on.
Cardinals are off tomorrow or tonight, so we'll call him tomorrow.
We'll talk to him on May 7th when the Blues win the lottery on May 5th. So we'll have to talk about the first overall pick and who he'll take. And then we'll just go kind of, piece by piece.
He's Alex. That's T-Bone. I'm BK. We'll hit the rewind next here on 101 ESPN. Alongside Alex and T-Bone, I'm BK. You got BK and Ferrario here on 101 ESPN. If you guys have any...
You forgot that this wasn't...
If you guys missed anything from today's show, be sure to check it out on the podcast page, 101ESPN.com, and the free 101 ESPN app is where you go to find it. It's all sponsored by
Schaefer Door Company.
From the 636, I was reading this, which got me into that mode. From the 636, this show always leaves you fully satisfied.
You're darn tootin' we do. That's totally what our promo should say.
The 101 ESPN app is sponsored by Dobbs Tire and Auto Centers. If you guys want to check out the Last Minute Blues podcast, they had a fantastic interview yesterday with Doug Armstrong. You could check that out, youtube.com/101ESPNSTL. That is also where you can go for the latest edition of the Redbird Report, which will be posted up later on this afternoon. T-Bone and myself will be recording a new edition of the Redbird Report today. By the way, the TMA Dotem Golf Tournament is on Friday, May the 15th. It is already sold out, but you could still win a free foursome to join TMA for a full day out on the course. The Dotem is going to include breakfast at from Donut Drive-In. I've done that every time. Lunch from Lee's Famous Recipe Chicken, all your Cutwater canned cocktails, and Anheuser-Busch beer and seltzers. The 100 West Dental closest to the pin competition, Evergreen Wealth Strategies longest drive competition, and an after party with food from the great Texas Roadhouse. For your chance to win a free foursome for the sold-out Dotem Golf Tournament, check out the 101 ESPN app or 101ESPN.com. Winner must be 21 or older. Giveaways brought to you by Cutwater Canned Cocktails. All right, boys, final question before we get out of here. We have NFL draft coverage starting tonight at 6 o'clock. Who goes number 2 overall? Number 1's Fernando Mendoza. We all know that. Who's number 2?
I say David Bailey.
I'm thinking Arvell Reese.
Oh, I got David Bailey as well.
Reese goes 3. Somebody trades up for him.
I like it. I think it's going to be a fun draft. I know T-Bone hates it, but I bet you he's going to be watching. Alex, I can't wait to break this down with you tomorrow since T-Bone hates it.
because I won't be watching playoff hockey.
Does that mean I don't have to come to work tomorrow?
Oh, wait, you're not into? Oh,
apparently.
Cool. BK and Bradford coming your way tomorrow.
For Alex and T-Bone, I'm BK. We will talk to you tomorrow at 11 a.m. We'll be doing so from this studio. How about that, ladies and gentlemen? Right here on 101 ESPN. The Fast Lane is next.